Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast with your host, Cody Jansen.
Am I on air? What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Cody Jansen, and welcome to episode 32 of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, presented by title sponsor CST Tires. This is our RedBud review show, but it's also so much more than that. Chad Wienen absolutely spanked the field at RedBud, leading every lap but one and stretching his points lead in the process. So it felt like our coverage wouldn't be complete without hearing from the six-time champ. He stole the show and will join us right away to talk about it. We'll finish our coverage of the event, and as we transition out of the pro class, there was a buzz around a certain rider returning to racing. After 7 years away from the sport, former pro class podium finisher Nick DeNoble returned to racing at RedBud. He's a good friend of mine and has been itching to get on, and this was the perfect opportunity to do so. We'll cover his entire career plus his return, and I have to say this has to be one of my favorite interviews we've ever done here on the podcast. You'll really enjoy that. Coming up shortly. Then you'll hear from Todd Macke, who most of you probably know because he's a legend within the ATV community. Todd was born with cerebral palsy and struggled to be mobile until he found his wheels. He quickly learned that on four wheels he was no longer quote-unquote disabled. Against all odds, Todd became a well-known member of the ATV community, and you'd struggle to find someone who enjoys the sport as much as Todd does. You'll hear his amazing story, some current racing talk, and more from Todd as he joins the show. Finally, our final guest of the night is Ryan Smith, owner of Lake Sugar Tree Motorsports Park there in Virginia, the next stop on the ATV National Tour. I wanted to get Ryan on to talk about his facility, a place we've never raced before, and it was a really awesome conversation. Ryan is a former pro bike rider himself and has a special connection to ATV racing, so we'll get into all of that to conclude the show. Great content for you guys to listen to either before we head to Virginia or while you're traveling down there. Killer show tonight, a bunch of great content, diverse stuff, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Chad Wienen will start us off. Get ready to dig deep, but first, let's hear a quick word from all the great sponsors that make this show possible. Thanks to our title sponsor, CST Tires, CSTTires.com. The Pulse MXR tire is the best tire on the market no matter what the terrain. Join the CST takeover today or prepare to be beat by someone who did. CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. Thank you to Motorsports Powerhouse and show sponsor, Yamaha. We are proud to be partnered with the winningest manufacturer of the past decade in ATV motocross and the #1 OEM supporter of ATV racing. The Digging Deep ATV MX podcast is Team Blue Crew. Thank you, Yamaha. Check them out at YamahaOutdoors.com. Thanks to another member of Racing Royalty and longtime sponsor of my personal racing efforts, Valvoline. For over 150 years, Valvoline has been dedicated to innovating and improving your riding and driving experience. The world's oldest oil company still leads the charge with unrivaled products and lubricants. Thanks to Team Valvoline for coming on board. Thank you to SSI Decals. SSI Decals is the decal choice of champions everywhere and is synonymous with the best decals and graphics kits on the market. Their track record speaks for itself. Champions choose SSI Decals for unmatched look and quality. Thanks to those guys. Check them out today at SSIDecals.com. It's an absolute honor to be partnered with Wienen Motorsports. We all know him as one of the toughest competitors ATV motocross has ever seen, and Chad Wienen has built quite the business within the industry as well. The same products he handpicked to help him win 6 AMA ATV Pro National Championships are available to you through Wienen Motorsports. Simply put, he sells what he races. So head over to WienenMotorsports.com to see everything they have to offer and use promo code DIGDEEP to save at checkout. Thanks to Chad Wienen and Wienen Motorsports for further legitimizing everything we're doing here at Digging Deep. It's an absolute honor. Thank you to DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain. Team USA, Joel Hetrick, and myself trusted DID's unrivaled chain quality all the way to championship victory this past season. Wherever you go, go with DID. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and keeping costs affordable the goal. This Michigan-based family operation is here to push stereotypes and limitations while recognizing riders' desire to showcase their identity with eccentric colorways and crazy patterns. Gripped is driven to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. Get a grip on life. Check them out at grippedgloves.com. That's GRIPT gloves.com and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save. Thanks to the Decker Training Facility. The Decker Training Facility at County Line MX is now open. This premier motocross training compound is located in beautiful Fountain, Florida, a short 40-minute drive from Panama City Beach. Their rapidly growing facility consists of a pro-level national track, amateur and youth tracks, woods loop, and mountain bike trails. Everything you need to train comfortably all winter long is available on site, including private cabins, a full gym, RV hookups, bathhouses, garage, dump station, wash bays, and more. With accommodations for riders across the country and around the world, the Decker Training Facility will help you become the best rider you can be. Sign up for a group training session or a private lesson with nationally ranked pros. Train tougher, smarter, and harder this off-season at one of Florida's most luxurious facilities. For more information, go to DeckerTrainingFacility.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram. Decker Training Facility, your elite training experience.
Thank you, Namura Technologies. Namura, pistons with an attitude. Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market since 2001 with their wide array of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits. To purchase, visit your local dealer or online at namura.com. That's NAMURA.com. Also, a big thanks to Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been the industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. Whether it's electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, suspension parts, or bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source when it comes to whatever you need for whatever you ride. BroncoATV.com. Thanks to Forworks Carbon for the continued support. Known for their hoods, seat covers, array of carbon parts, and so much more. Forworks is your one-stop shop to give your ATV a new and improved look with increased function this year. Head over to the social media pages or website today. Thanks to Forworks Carbon. Thanks to DP Brakes, the unquestioned leader in motorsports and power sports braking. DP is the brand responsible for allowing Joel Hetrick, your host Cody Jansen, and so many others to outbrake the competition every time they hit the racetrack. It's never too late to join the team, so act fast. www.dp-brakes.com. Thank you to Mountaineer Brand. If you know me, you know I love my... What the?
Hey, that's my line. If you know me, you know I love my beard. That's why I treat it right with Mountaineer Brand's all-natural washes, oils, balms, and more. Use discount code CODY'sFave in all caps. That's CODYSFAV, CODY'sFave in all caps at mountaineerbrand.com. We're thankful for our partnership with Factory 43. Since 2007, this racer-owned company has been striving to offer a quality product that installs easy, looks good, and holds up over time, producing bumpers, grab bars, Nerf bars, and other accessories. For 2020, Factory 43 is the aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing Honda team, providing riders like Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Chris Borich, and Grayson Eller with their motocross and cross-country versions of Evo Nerf bars and MX style front bumpers. Head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products, thanks to Factory 43. We are proud to be partnered with Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC was started by former racers selling three-wheeler parts out of a barn in upstate New York. Now 10 years later, BTQ LLC has over 40,000 new and used parts in stock, but they haven't forgotten their roots, still offering used OEM parts for three-wheelers, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. Parts are in stock and ready to ship with guaranteed delivery within 3 days, including free shipping on orders of over $50. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for $10 off of orders $50 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us, support our industry's small businesses, and thank you BTQ LLC. We are proud of our partnership with Roman Health. On average, Americans are forced to wait 29 days to see a doctor in major U.S. cities. If you're dealing with a condition like erectile dysfunction, you want treatment ASAP. That's why our friends at Roman have spent years building a digital platform to connect you with a licensed doctor in your state from the comfort of your own home. Roman makes it convenient to get the treatment you need on your schedule. Just grab your phone or computer, complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If the doctor decides that treatment is right for you, Roman's Pharmacy will ship your medication to you with free 2-day shipping. Plus, there's no commitments and you can cancel anytime with Roman. So if you're struggling with ED, go to getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. That's GetRoman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Thanks as always to Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boil over next time you hit the track. When conditions are at their worst, Evans is at its best. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save at checkout, evanscoolant.com. Thanks to Blenders Eyewear, whose Life in Forward Motion brand is the perfect fit to partner with our podcast. You won't find better shades for a more attractive price anywhere else. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save on the trendiest shades on the market. BlendersEyewear.com.
Thanks to Avocado Green Mattresses. The Avocado mattress offers zoned back support with an internal support unit, meaning whether you are recovering from a hard day of riding or relaxing on a Sunday morning, you are experiencing next level comfort. With a 100-night sleep trial, free shipping and return pickups, and a 25-year warranty, getting your Avocado Green mattress could not be any easier. Step up your sleep game by visiting avocadomattress.com.
From our new partners to our original sponsors, thanks for supporting the #1 podcast in ATV racing and making this dream a reality for both us and our listeners. We pride ourselves in partnering with only the best brands inside and outside of the industry, so better your riding experience and your lifestyle by supporting the sponsors who support us. And if you enjoy the show, the best thing you can do is support our partners. If you're interested in becoming a partner of the show, shoot me a message or email today for more details. We are running a discounted partnership rate to assist small businesses, so message or email us today to keep your brand relevant. Once again, thanks to all of our sponsors. All right, guys, let's welcome our first guest of the night. And with the way that he dominated at RedBud, our coverage wouldn't be complete without him. Brought to you by SSI Decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. You know who it is. It's 6-time, Mr. Chad Wienen. Thanks for joining us again, pal.
Hey, no problem, Cody. Do enjoy it. It's good to be back on, so soon. And, hopefully we can keep everything going on the right track. And I really feel good on my machine, so I'm really enjoying riding right now.
It sure looks like it, man. I like to try to keep our guests that we take on the show here pretty diverse. But like I said, with the way that the weekend that you had, we had to be able to hear from you the way that you dominated the pack. So like I said, absolutely dominant day at RedBud, routing the rest of the pack en route to 1-1 performance there. But what sticks out to me more than anything is the way that you did it. Your early race intensity was next level. It looked like you really emphasized that and then executed it to perfection. I mean, you didn't get either hole shot and you led every lap but one. So tell us about your day a little bit.
Yeah, we actually went into the weekend on a brand new machine. So I spent a lot of time in the mechanics area on the qualifiers and just kind of fine tuning and getting it exactly the way I want it. I don't know if you remember, usually in years past, I'm pretty once I ride something, I just like to stay with it and just, ride through it. And
yep.
I think this year I'm really particular on how my setup is and I know exactly what I want. So, I mean, I think that's one big thing that I brought to the table this year, with my setup, I'm really feeling the machine really well and, just getting it where I want it. And then, once we got it there, it was just, a matter of riding it to the front. Definitely the track was really good this year. Even last year I felt like it was really tough to pass in certain areas. And it seemed like how rough it got this year that even if there was a pretty dominant line, you could actually, I felt like I could bowl my way through and, get up along somebody and, try to make them, surrender to this position. But man, I guess I've been really working on my early race intensity just, through practicing, but it's hard to, mock that feeling, and go out and just pour on right away. But that's just a comfortable thing, just being comfortable on the machine and knowing what it's going to do. And, even if the track is a little bit wet, you still you feel like you got 100% control. And, it's hard to describe because in years past, I try to do the same thing and work on my intensity, but sometimes you just don't go out there and you don't feel it. So I was just feeling it all weekend long.
Yeah. I mean, It was cool to see. And I guess that makes sense because I think even like over the PA, they were talking about you in the time qualifier, like, oh, Chad must be having a problem with his quad, this, that, and the other thing. But it makes sense that you're getting it exactly where you wanted. You were just being particular with it because, I mean, RedBud is RedBud, right? Like on the second lap, you probably you kind of know it, it's not that much different. Just the bumps come in different and stuff like that. So yeah, it was great. It just looked like you were on rails. Like I said, the early intensity in the races stuck out to me, and you were using that gnarly RedBud whoop section to your advantage. It truly, like, you were in your own stratosphere through those things. So it was just like, it was gnarly for everybody, like typically you guys, there's not a section that they can build that can slow you guys down. And it was able to slow you guys down, but it was slowing the other guys down a whole lot less than you. So I'm assuming you wish you had a whoop section like that at every track.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's hard to go to like these tracks, and I understand it's like it's a bigger amateur program than it is a pro program, so they can't make the tracks too gnarly that we get a bunch of people hurt. So I mean, I felt that RedBud, the sand rollers were, I mean, that's a great place to have a gnarly section where if you commit to them, you can go fast and have a high risk of going down. So in the videos that I saw, like, man, like every single pass that I went through there, I was getting kicked around, and like they felt a lot better on the machine than they looked on, video.
Right.
But man, like I just enjoy having sections like that they are challenging every time you go through them, and they're not just pushing the gas and leaning off the back of the machine. There's a lot of throttle control, body position, clutch control, like it all goes together just trying to make it through that section.
Yeah, and I think even like as an amateur racer or whatever, sitting on the line, knowing that there's a place out there on the track where it's not one lined no matter what. So if you commit, you can probably make a pass. I really like that feeling. So just in general, I know that, I mean, it's been covered in depth that RedBud's your favorite track. It's mine too, and so many others. So I thought it was probably one of the best RedBuds that there's been in a long time, like you said, for the multiple lines, and it just got gnarly. So yeah, for you to say that the whoop section there felt better than it looked, but you had to watch, not discrediting anybody, but then you watch you versus the other guys in those videos, and it's like, it still is like night and day. So had to be still pretty cool for you to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool, and I just kind of took. I mean, obviously, I took that to my advantage. I would charge hard to that section, and I could rest myself and just hit my marks the rest of the places. And I just, watch my gap stretch out. And once I got to a certain spot, I just kind of rode my machine home and didn't put any extra stress on it. And just. Man, it's been a long time since I've won one, and man, that just felt so good just to be the fastest guy, hands down. That just there's just no better feeling than that.
Absolutely. I can't imagine. You definitely left no doubt. And I guess in my opinion, one thing that doesn't get emphasized enough when it comes to your program, Chad, and I think I've brought this up on the show before, but it's not like, you're not just the rider, behind the scenes, you're also prepping the bikes. You just talked about breaking out a new bike. So you're piecing that thing together. You're assembling motors, you're literally doing it all. And I guess, like, personally, I even know how rewarding it feels to succeed, having had your hands on every part of, the quad, every aspect of the program, because that's how I do my program on a lower level. So I guess, for you then, at the pinnacle of the sport, talk about, I guess, how it feels when you win, knowing you didn't just show up and ride a prepped quad, you're riding the quad that you built and you prepped. That has to be, double the rewarding feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it feels normal now just because I've been doing it for so long. And I mean, it doesn't go without notice that, I had to learn, I didn't just jump into this one day and just start doing this. I learned from the best. You know, Ryan Cox, he was my mechanic, you know, for several years from, '07 on. He was my mechanic till 2012. So just learning from him and, you know, learning the ins and outs, and this goes all the way back to like D Manshak when I was riding Hondas. Like I was breaking engines left and right, cracking cases, and he would show me, you know, little tricks on putting the engines together because I couldn't afford to, you know, to pay somebody to do it because I was tearing them up that much.
Sure.
So, I mean, just the years that you put in, the tricks you learn along the way, and man, Thomas showed me a new tool that he had, like a valve spring compressor. That's like I use the old one, like the crank style with the spring, and he showed me one that he just puts on the bench and presses it down, and it just made it very easy to do. I'll probably still use mine, but it just made it very easy to do and to take them out and everything. So it's kind of, I'm still learning, you know, and I enjoy that part of it because, you know, when you stop learning is, you know, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be as fun anymore.
Right. I mean, yeah, you find fun in the whole program, I feel like. So for you, you probably couldn't even go back to not having your hands on your quad the way you do, because now, like, you know, you have a standard and it's at that standard and you're comfortable with it, and you kind of can trust the machine, I guess, knowing it that way. So I guess I don't think it probably gets covered enough that you are, you know, you're a 6-time champ, winning all of those championships, doing it with your own prep work, your own build work, all that stuff. And I just think it's a pretty special thing, especially when you're able to go out there, you're able to, you know, ride fast enough to get 2 moto wins, and still, like, you're riding the machine to like not break it, I guess. You know, I just feel like you got such a great combination. It's a pretty cool thing to see, and something that you should be really proud of.
Yeah, thanks. And, you know, I just enjoy that time that I get to, you know, work on the machines. It's kind of like, I don't think anybody really wants to say that, but I actually look forward to working on the machines and learning from them. And then I think that really helps me on my setup as well, like understanding how everything works. And, you know, the testing, I love the testing part when you get new parts, because, you know, we've been developing this YZ4R. I mean, I have since 2012, and we made it even better again this year. And it's like, wow, like when's, you know, when are we going to hit the wall of, you know, not being able to make this thing better? So it's kind of cool that able to do that and progress.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's awesome thing with both what you and Yamaha have done together. It's been really fun to see. So coming off of 2 good points weekends for you, you're currently sitting with a 13-point advantage with 3 events remaining. I'm curious to know how you're feeling with where you're at, because the entire championship has it's got a much different feel right now. We usually have just Loretta's and the pro only event at Ironman left, but this year we're racing deep into the fall. We have a Virginia track we've never been to, a new Texas event, and south of the border as the finale instead of an early round. Our championship as a whole just has been so similar for so many years. 2020 just seems bizarre. So how are you feeling heading into the stretch run with so many changes from years past?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different having, you know, we're only a week and a half into our month-long break. So that's going to be definitely weird. I've been really focusing on just getting, you know, things around home just kind of buttoned up, and then do some riding here and there, but keep up my off machine training, and, you know, just keep my riding fresh. And, you know, just like, I got to keep it poured on. And, you know, just what happened last year, anything can happen. And I'm focused, and I don't want to give up any sort of like any push on Joel's end. I want to keep the pressure on and keep pushing, and, you know, not give him any confidence. I want to keep riding this high that I'm on right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. You definitely got all the momentum. The series looks a whole lot different after the past two races. So, like I said, we're obviously grateful to be racing. We kind of said that to each other before we hopped on the live recording here. It's just a different feeling series this year when, year after year in the past, they seemed, pretty darn similar. So, like you said, typically you just got Loretta's, that iconic race and the pro only event. But yeah, this year's just different for sure. So, last week and talking, I guess, about more changes and more changes from years past. So last week we learned that the Texas event was being moved from our typical spot at Underground to another track, Three Palms. It was also announced on Saturday. It'll be like a typical pro event for you guys, typical national day. And then for Sunday, that'll act, I guess, as a double header for the pros only. The amateur event will go on as scheduled like normal. So the plan is to do one qualifier in a one moto format on Sunday, right? But basically this is in place of the Ironman pro only round. And that gives you guys the originally scheduled number of events. So what are your thoughts on this? Is this something that you were lobbying for? And will you do anything different that weekend, or will you just hop on the same bike you rode Saturday, put down a heater, and then, go race one additional moto? No big deal.
My plan is on, Saturday race, obviously same old thing there. And then Sunday, more than likely we'll just do I'll try to do a full prep on my machine just because, and going to that track down there in Texas, I know it's pretty sandy, so I'm just gonna try to do a full prep of the track over that night, and just try to go out there and put a good heater in. And not, I'm used to riding on Sunday, so it really doesn't make a big difference to me. So I think that'll come into our advantage just because we're used to riding on Sunday, and it won't be like that weird feeling of like getting up and be like, oh shoot, like we got a race today.
Right. Yeah. I guess I didn't think about that too much, but yeah, I mean, if you go back, 5 years or whatever, you wouldn't be used to that. But now that you've been racing the pro stock class, you've been riding on Sunday anyway. So yeah, that makes total sense. And I guess, yeah, that wasn't something I even had on my radar to have kind of another event there. But I think, if that creates more income for you guys, or kind of gets back to having as many races as you guys signed up for, that's good news for everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we were pushing for it.
Okay.
We were definitely pushing for it, and to get that extra round put back in, because I know a couple of my contracts are contracted to run the full 10 rounds, especially with the coronavirus that had gone on. So
yep.
It'll be good to get our full season in, and when we race, that's how we make our money. So we get that event in, and we got more opportunities to make more of an income.
Absolutely. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up to you, because I assumed the way that you go about your business, you were probably one of the people lobbying for this thing. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up. So up next is the Loretta's replacement race with Lake Sugar Tree in Virginia. Have you looked into that track at all, or what to expect there, or anything like that?
I really just looked into, I just seen some photos of it and talking to people that have been there before, and they say it's a really nice facility, just a track. They said it had lacked in some track width. So,
okay.
I just, I reached out to Harv and see, if that is true, that if they have time to go and work on that, so that, I guess the biggest thing, you want to be able to try to go in and make a splash and make people fall in love with the facility so that we come back to it. And
absolutely,
I think, just from the feedback I've gotten from people that have been there, and that was one of the bigger concerns with the track. So hopefully they're able to get out and do some work to it and make the track width wider, and maybe this is a place that we'll go to more often.
Yeah, for sure. And it's exciting, I think, for ATV racing to go where the owner, where that group really wants to have us and is pro to ATV racing. So that's exciting. So we have owner Ryan Smith coming up later on the show. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him and hearing him talk about his track. But yeah, Chad, congrats on another huge weekend, huge win at RedBud. You're inching closer to number 7. And as always, I want to thank you for your support of the show with Wienen Motorsports, of course. Thanks for being an awesome guest as always. And good luck in Virginia. We'll see you there. I just can't thank you enough.
Yeah, sounds good, Cody. And thanks a lot. And, we're in the right direction, but a lot of work to do. So I'm excited for, the challenge that lies ahead, and maybe we'll catch up and ride in between this break and talk Bob into open up the track for us or something,
Yeah. Sounds good. You let me know and I'm there. So thanks again for everything, Chad. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Cody. Later.
Great stuff there from your current points leader, Chad Wienen. I don't know how else to say it other than that he was in a league of his own there at RedBud. 1-1. He's up 13 points now, like we said. 3 races left, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens. Joel Hetrick, he was 2-2 on the day there for second overall. He made a run in the first moto at the end of the race and really closed up the gap. He said he was struggling with some setup, but overall, that's such a Chad Wienen track for Joel Hetrick to come away with 2-2 there. 13 points isn't insurmountable, especially, for a rider like Joel Hetrick. So still, I don't think it's panic mode or anything for him yet, but he's going to be forced to make these last races count. That's for sure. Thomas Brown, 3-3. He was clearly the third best guy on the day. That's been kind of a theme. And just overall, that the pace of this class is so fast right now. To be the third guy is a win in itself almost. So Thomas Brown, solid third place again for him this weekend, 3-3 on the day, and great ride for Thomas. Bryce Ford, he was 4th overall with 5-4, 4th overall. Notable thing for Bryce there was he was fast qualifier on the day. That was his first fast qualifier ever. That was kind of a goal of his, and he's been getting closer and closer every weekend. So fast qualifier for Bryce there, another 4th overall, and now he's tied for 4th in points. The kid never stops impressing us, and he just keeps getting better and better every weekend. So this is going to be an exciting finish to the year as we watch Bryce Ford. 5th overall, no surprise here, Nick DeNoble, 6'5" for 5th overall, almost always a top 5 lock. But we have to remember he's been 4th or 5th in every championship he's ever been in as a professional. I covered this in depth, covered it a number of times on our social media channels. But this year, he finds himself 31 points down. He had 2 tough races with some DNFs and races he didn't finish. And he finds himself 31 points down from being in that top 5 spot this year. That's going to be a tough thing to do. He's just going to have to chip away at that in every moto here going forward. And we'll see what he can do. He's 31 points down from Bryce Ford and Brandon Hogue, who are tied for that 4th spot. So it's going to be a tough fight for him. He's in 8th in points right now, and it's going to be a tough fight, but you can't count him out. He's a scrappy kid, East Coast kid, and he's going to just keep chipping away. So we'll see if Nick DeNoble can keep that trend going, because being a top 5 pro is a huge thing. But this class is so fast, and with this new insertion of fast young riders, we knew that top 5 spot was going to be tougher to achieve this year, and that's proven to be true. Those 2 races are working against him, that's for sure, but we'll see what he can do, because that's why they go race these things. It's not predetermined. You got to go earn it, and that's what Nick DeNoble is going to try to do. Alan Myers, he was 6th overall on the weekend, but the notable thing for Alan was he was 4th in the first moto, and he passed a number of guys, Brandon Hogue, Bryce Ford, possibly Wesley Wolf. He passed some fast guys to get up there to 4th. So great ride for Alan in the first moto. He came away with 8th in the second moto. Probably not what he wanted after that first moto, but 6th overall for him. Another great ride, and I keep saying it weekend after weekend, but he's looking like that most improved pro. He really is. So we'll see with a few events remaining. We'll see how Allen can finish out his season. 7th overall, Brandon Hogue. He's tied for 4th in points. He was 7-6 on the weekend. Again, not the weekend that Brandon's wanted. We've said that for a few weekends now. He ripped the whole shot in the first moto, so you obviously know he was expecting bigger and better things, but I think he was battling some bike issues. So 7th on the weekend for Brandon, but he's still tied for 4th in points with Bryce Ford, and that might be the best race to watch from here till the end of the year, is week in, week out, Brandon Hogue versus Bryce Ford. Brandon was hot at the beginning of the season. Bryce is hot right now. Kind of clash of the titans, and the leader of the pack for this next generation, this next era of pro class racing, these up and coming guys, it's a battle for supremacy there. So we'll see, but that's going to be a fun fight to watch here, as it's basically the start of the season for these guys, because they're tied after the races that we've had so far. So 3-4 events remaining here with the doubleheader at Texas, however you want to count that. It's going to be a fight to the finish, and you're not going to want to miss it. 8th place was Wesley Wolf at RedBud. Typical Wesley Wolf type day. He's a lock, it seems, for that 6, 7, 8 spot. So 8th for Wesley Wolf. 9th was Wes Lewis. He was top 10, back in the top 10. Welcome back to the top 10, Wes Lewis. Great ride there for 9th. His goal was to be top 10 every weekend. Had a couple tough races these last few, but he's back in the top 10 with 9th overall, and he ended up winning the Pro Mod class on Sunday, so great for Wes Lewis. 10th, rounding out the top 10, Troy Hill. He was on our last episode. Great guest. That was his 4th consecutive top 10. So awesome job for the rookie there. Yeah, big accomplishment to be top 10 in this class right now. And he came in under the radar like we kind of discussed on the last episode. So great for Troy. I'm happy for him. 11th overall was Hayden Mickelson. This was his best finish of the season so far. He was top 10 in the first moto, 14th in the second moto. So he was hovering right around getting in that top 10 spot, but 11th for Hayden. That's his best finish on the year so far, and good for him. His brother Noah came in 12th. That's his best finish since Daytona. He was top 10 at Daytona, the season opener, before the big layoff, before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And this is his best finish since then. So good for him. And again, I said it in a social media post earlier in the week, but he's so naturally talented, and I've seen what he's capable of firsthand so much. Don't be surprised if you see him challenging up inside the top 10 here before the season is over, because he's definitely got the talent to do it. 13th was Cody Ford. He was 12-13 on the day, 13th overall for him. His big notable happening of the weekend was he got second in Pro Mod and won the first moto there. So good for him. Good for Cody. That was definitely a ride he's going to hang his hat on and take that 13th in the pro class as we head to Virginia next. Brogan Geyer was 14th overall. I know he had some bike issues that hindered him, but 14th for him. That was a hometown race. So he was obviously looking for more, but with that bike problem, that's hard to overcome. Logan Stanfield, bike problems again. Man, it's just one thing after another for Logan. It seems he's a top 10 guy. He's been a top 10 guy. He was a top 10 guy at the beginning of the season. He's riding well. It's just not necessarily showing in the box score. So hopefully all the demons have been exercised for Logan, and we'll see what he can do before the season ends. But he's definitely going to end this thing on a high note. This is not, the last couple weeks at least, have not been a representation of Logan. So we'll see what he can do, but he was 15th overall on the weekend, but that's not a true representation of him. And Ty Hudson, he actually DNS'd, but he'll be credited with 16th. And yeah, he rounded out our field. That's the full rundown of the pro class. A lot of great storylines going into the races ahead. So I'm really excited to see what happens here before the end of the season. It's just getting heated up right now, just getting juicy. So can't wait to sit back and watch how it all plays out. Another class that obviously everybody loves at this point, the pro stock class. you could guess what happened there. Chad Wienen won again. He's got a 90+ win percentage since this class became a thing. He's won every race so far this season. He basically never loses in the pro stock division. So Chad Wienen got it done there. You just heard from him. So yeah, he got it done there in pro stock. Thomas Brown was second, and Max Lindquist got his first podium with a third in that class. And speaking of Max Lindquist, the 16-year-old phenom has won 5 events to kick off his Pro-Am and big bike career. We've been covering that. He was an earlier guest on the show, and the streak continues. It's been amazing for him. Also, an honorable mention to Zach Kazmarek, who finished second in Pro-Am, racing on a limited schedule, so that's super impressive. And Grayson Eller finished third in Pro-Am. So as we start to talk about amateur racing at RedBud, a good share of the talk had to do with this next guest. Last time we saw him, he was mixing it up at the front of the pro class, and after 7 long years away from the races, he came back. I'm excited for this one. Let's welcome our next guest. Enjoy. All right, guys, we've been trying to find the perfect time to welcome this guy to the show, and I'm stoked to finally get him on. He's a guy I've always looked up to, another Wisconsin rider who seemed to help pave the way for riders like myself, Sammy Rowe, Max Lindquist, and others. Brought to you by Nomura Technologies and Bronco ATV and UTV Components. It's the 1-2-3 kid, Nick DeNoble. Welcome to the podcast, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Cody. Appreciate it. Great to be on.
Oh, I know it's something that you wanted to do for a while, and I mentioned trying to find the best time to get you on, buddy. Originally, I wanted to do basically like a Wisconsin show with all the guys, but before we could ever do that, you decided to come back racing after a 7+ year hiatus. So we had to get you on. It was the perfect time.
Yeah, it was, and it was awesome going back to the track. You know, it was awesome seeing everyone, and I'm just pumped to have you let me come on here and talk racing, talk past, talk future, and like I said, it was awesome to see everyone, and it's awesome to talk about quads again. You know, I was out for 7 years. I followed ATV racing, you know, for 7 years, and it's hard. It's hard being out of it and watching it from the sideline, but now we're back, and the 1-2-3 kid is here. Here we go.
Oh, I love it. Well, you never lose that love for it, right? So it makes it is hard. It is hard. There's some people that can't even follow it because they miss it so much. So long story short, I'm excited that you're kind of making a tiptoeing back to being at the races. It was great to have you, and that's what made the timing so great to have you on here. So before we get to your return, I want to take this thing all the way back to the very beginning and talk about the early days of your career, before it was even a career, when it was just a hobby. So tell us about, I guess, like your first quad and then how you got into racing, because I remember you and your brother as youngsters. You're older than me, but you were riding, you know, I guess you were riding 450s at the local tracks, but you weren't even 16 yet. And, you know, doing that local racing back then, just like everybody basically started. So where did it start for you guys?
Yep. So we grew up in the country out in Denmark, Wisconsin, and, you know, out in the farm fields, mom and dad got us, we had an LT50 back when I was 3 years old. And, you know, I got an older brother, Eric, and older sister, Heather, and they all, you know, I rode in a red Flyer wagon behind it, you know, growing up. And then finally, we got a place up north, up in Townsend, and seen a Blaster for sale. And that was pretty much our first sport quad. You know, we had utility quads and stuff, which it was cool. You know, we jumped them and stuff like every redneck does, you know, but, you know, but that pretty much started it. We just started riding the quads up in the woods and up by the cabin. And 2003, 2002, my dad bought me a 2003 Z400.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Which was, yeah. So 2003 was actually my first time attempting racing. You know, my dad bought me a Z400 and bought my brother a Raptor 660.
Okay.
And took it down by your dad and in your guys' shop, Against Motorsports, and just kind of hit it off from there. You know, your dad, and that was when Eddie Spaghetti was working there. Corey Gauthier was working there.
Yep.
And we just kind of hit it off. My dad, I was 2003, so I was
You must have
14.
been, yeah, I was gonna say early high school years.
Yeah, 13 or 14, and at that age you couldn't ride race quads, until you're 16. So we just lied about my age. And first race was up at Pine Ridge, awesome track. And did decent there. That was back in the day where there's 2-stroke B, 2-stroke A, 4-stroke A, 4-stroke B, and there was no C classes then, and just had fun. It was a blast. That was pretty much the start of it in 2003. And my brother stuck with it too. It was kind of like a family ordeal, just like you. It's once the family is in it, you're family all the time. So.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys, like, my first memories of you, and again, you were young kids at the time, but you were like the stereotypical, like, kind of redneck kids riding quads, that's how it was at the beginning. And it quickly changed. So you talked about starting racing in 2003, 2004, and the scene was really good for ATVs in Wisconsin at the time, and that probably helped it. You talked about it with Eddie Dezhnev and Corey Gauthier, some of those guys, you and the whole landscape of ATV racing here in Wisconsin at the time was really good. And so at what point, that must have been 2005 or 2006, now you're going to the nationals on a regular basis.
Yeah. So, well, we'll rewind a little bit. So 03 was when I started, then 04, remember we had the quad series.
Yep.
We had the Wisconsin quad series in 04. I took second place in the Northern Cup series, behind my brother in B class. Fast forward to 2005, we jumped up to A class at the quad series and stuff. And I don't know if you remember, I had that really bad crash at, I think it was Eklund. I got a flight for life.
Yep, I do remember that. I wasn't there, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yep, I got a flight for life in 05. That was my first A class race, first practice, first lap.
Yep.
Going out with the big boys, I thought it was something special, and well, I wasn't.
Yeah, I remember that. What happened there?
So it was kind of like Birch Creek. You do the whole shot, and you go over that tunnel jump, and you come down that hill, and you had a small checkup tabletop.
Yep.
It was just like that. You come down 4th, 5th gear licked, and I just held it licked the whole time. And threw me, I don't remember. I just remember. I remember slightly in the MRI booth looking for internal stuff and broken stuff. I remember a little bit of that, but that was pretty much it.
You got helicoptered out of there, didn't you?
Yep. I got flight for life, and that was first practice. So they shut the race down until, I believe, halfway through the day. That was Saturday. And that was up by like Eau Claire area, I believe.
I remember. I don't know why I wasn't there, but that was gnarly. And so what did you end up messing up there?
Nothing.
Oh.
I ended up so I guess my mom tells me I came off the tabletop and I just nosedived straight down into the ground. So
okay.
The throttle or handlebar must have got me in the knee. So my knee was kind of banged up. And RedBud was actually 2 weeks later in 2005.
Yep.
And I wanted to race that, but I was on crutches and stuff, so that didn't happen.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, you got lucky there, and then that must have been 2000. So how did 2005 end?
Okay, yep. So I'll finish that. 2005, we just pretty much stuck to the quad series, did a couple gravity parks here and there, did RedBud, Max Caston, we're all hanging out, the quad group from Wisconsin.
Yep.
And that was pretty much the end of my 2005 season. And 2006, my dad seen we had potential, and a lot of local guys seen we had potential. So 2006, that was our first year doing nationals, and so we actually took on Corey Goth here with us. Him and his dad Hank. They jumped in our rig, which is actually Chad Wienen's rig right now. Chad got that. Well, he didn't buy it from us, from Show Hauler, and that was pretty much my actual career. In 2006, I was running 1624 in production A, and I was doing all right. Production A, I was top 3. 1624, I was top 4. You had Chris Williams, Devin Himes, Thomas Brown.
Yep.
And then you had the WPSA series then also. So you had Kel Down, Sage Baker. What's
it was
his
stacked.
name?
It was stacked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually got my first national win at Bud's Creek in 2006 and 1624. Okay. Devin Himes behind me, and I changed the subject. But after that, me and Devin were great buddies. After that,
Yeah.
But then it was always battling from there on out. So.
Right, for sure. That's where I was going with that. Was 2006. I thought was your first kind of year racing all the nationals, but you still like, to me at least, were just a better version of the guy you were here. I don't know how else to say that. You hadn't like transformed into a national rider yet, I feel like. And then when you fast forward to 2007, you would have been racing the A classes, and you were in Pro-Am too, I believe, at the time, and you became that's when you, at least in my mind, again, you kind of transitioned into being one of the next big things of the sport, because, you won the production A class national championship, which was a premier. That was a premier class. And
that was big.
Absolutely. That was a premier class at the time. And you finished second in Pro-Am behind Clay Holmes. And when you look at the guys that you beat out the likes of Cody Gibson, Thomas Brown, Greg G, Travis Moore, Jake Hakala, Cody Miller, Mitch Reynolds, Casey Martin, Bobby Ross, and the list continues to go on with guys that we all remember. It was absolutely stacked, like as stacked as could be. So what do you, when I think about 2007, I wanted to be able to ask, what do you credit for helping you make that major jump into ATV racing stardom there in 2007? Because you catapulted yourself that year.
Yeah. So now, honestly, the main thing that turned me going from an all right quad racer to a good quad racer was it was me, Eric, you, Corey Goth here in the Whitefields. We went down to Joe Bird's quad riding school. Yep. I think Joe just opened my eyes, like, okay, you got to grow some balls and go fast,
Sure. Yep.
And so I think that was pretty much it. I think just training with Joe, and then 2006, Joe won that national championship, pro championship, and my dad hired his mechanic from that year, Chris Delegard, and we hired him. So I had a full-time mechanic in 2007 and 2008. And which helped out a lot too, because he lived down in Tennessee. So we go down to Tennessee and just train. And that was when the preseason training was starting to get really big,
Right. That was when that kind of transitioned into being a thing, because prior to that, it really wasn't.
No, yeah. It was just pretty much go down a couple weeks before the first race, and then you just ride,
Right. Yep.
But at this point, we were going down for Thanksgiving, going down for Christmas, and then, that sort of thing. So 2007, I was also a senior in high school. So I really didn't have a whole lot of riding time. I'd take off of school on Thursday, fly to the race, and then fly home, go to school, just ride in between, and so 2007, it just really, really turned around, winning the production A championship and second place in Pro-Am. Now, this is when WPSA was really big.
Yep.
So you had your guys that went to WPSA and you guys that went to GNC. So, but then we all would collide together at RedBud, Loretta's, and stuff like that. And that's what really showed the men from the boys, you know,
Yep.
which was always me, Clay Holmes, Thomas Brown, Cody Miller.
Greg G was fast.
Greg G was fast. And, yeah, so, you know, and just riding with those guys just made it better, you know.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So, and you spent more time with Bird, right? I mean, it wasn't just that one time that we went there. You spent more time with him.
Yeah. So 2006, it was me, my brother, Adrian Cooper, and Brandon Smith. We pretty much just lived down at Bird's place during summertime.
Okay.
You know, so us four trained together, rode together, and you know, riding with Bird. I mean, you're gonna learn. You know, he was a national champion, so
yeah.
And that's what really helped, especially pushing with Brandon Smith, because Brandon Smith was my competition also in 2007.
Okay.
So because he was doing nationals, production A, and Pro-Am also with me. So
yep.
Right there, you know, it was just battling back and forth during practice. So it helped out. And then you got Joe that, you know, you've been down to Joe's school, and whoever's listening, if you've been down to Joe's school, it's an ass kicker, and and he makes you work for it. And that's what really, I personally think, really stepped up my game, my brother's game, you know, just everything else, you know. And then 2007, speaking about that, my brother was racing, you know, as you know, my brother was racing with me, and that was an opening round at Pell City. That was when it was called the elevator jump. He came off of it practice and shattered his foot. Same thing I did in 2012. And that was pretty much the end of his career. So,
because to that point, you were both racing and pretty much in the same classes, right? So it's not like it was never just a one-man show until then. Then that's when it became you were the rider, and he was kind of he helped you then for a lot of years.
Yep. So like me and Eric were pretty much like how Cody Miller and Hunter Miller were, you know.
Yep.
Two brothers, same classes, and one was stupider, which was me, and one had, you know, more common sense, was Eric, and he just had bad luck, came up short on that elevator jump first round, and I pretty much ended it, you know. And that was our first year getting a full-time mechanic, you know, two Pro-Am riders, you kind of need a mechanic for us riding all the time.
For sure. Yep.
So then it did turn into, you know, just me racing by myself. And I had Chris as mechanic for 2007 and 2008. And then 2009, 10, 11, 12, my brother was my mechanic, and so was my dad. So
okay, yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing that stood out to me in 2007 was when I think you really, because again, trying to paint the picture of how big of a jump I feel you made from 2006 to 2007, at least with your riding, and that's when it looked like it became clearer how naturally talented you are. Probably one of the most naturally talented riders I ever saw firsthand, because it seemed like again, you went from being like a redneck looking like local guy to fast national kid to looking like a pro in the Pro-Am class in like a 3-year span almost. And that's when that true natural talent showed through. And that's what stood out to me in 2007. And in 2008, it was second again in Pro-Am, this time behind Thomas Brown, and you beat out Cody Gibson and crew. And then in 2009, you go pro. So tell me about the memories that you had with that, you know, that first season in the pro class. It was stacked at the time with a bunch of factory support, and you were able to earn 2 top 10s in your rookie campaign. But I guess what stands out about that rookie year when you went pro?
So 2009, you know, like you said, it was stacked with factory riders. You had 3 Can-Am teams. You had Factory Suzuki with 2 satellite teams, Kawasaki with 2 satellite teams, everything like that, you know.
Yep.
So me, Thomas Brown, Mitch Reynolds, Clay Holmes, we all went in there as rookies, and I'll never forget this. It was Glenn Helen, first round, and locally they called me the whole shot homeboy. And I ripped the first hole shot of the first moto. I went from first to 17th within 3 laps. And,
oh my gosh! Rips the whole shot in his pro debut.
Yeah, and just falls on my. It was
I forgot all about
really,
that.
Yeah, it was really disappointing because at that time, end of 2008, I got hooked up with Digger Doug Gust. We built the track up in Tigerton and stuff, and I was training with him, and I just wasn't there mentally yet for the pro class. I had the speed because practicing and everything. Doug came out plain as day, say, Nick, you're fast. When you're training with someone on a track, you spot them on the track, and you always see if you can pull from them or gain from them. Mm-hmm. And I could always not always beat Doug, but we were right there. I beat him, he beat me, this and that, but it was just a mental game that I could not get through my head. It started clicking, towards the end of the season, and it was a good rookie season. I think I took like 16th overall, nothing special, but there was, back in 2009, you had to qualify to get into your motos. There's 30 some entries, and just to make the main event or your motos, your first pro race, which you're kind of expected to do that, going 2 years in a row in Pro-Am and, all that stuff. But it was just upsetting, because Thomas Brown was like always my rivalry, WPSA, he was a little baby, on his Lost Creek cycle quad. And I had no problem beating him back then. And then all of a sudden he just got fast, and, we battled it out in 2008, but he won by, I think, like 14 points or something like that. And then Thomas just seeing your rival, just go out there and spank you.
It hurts. It hurts.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it did. And and not even that, it was just training with Digger. And, after races, Doug's like, Nick, what's going on? And it's just pisses you off, and it's, what do you get out of that? Getting mad at yourself? Honestly, nothing, you're just,
right.
But it was just, I was, and then back at this also, I got my girlfriend at the time pregnant at the time too. So 2009, I was 19 years old having a kid, and so
your life was changing so fast, and then to be racing against the baddest dudes in the world on ATVs, I can't imagine. That was a lot of stuff was changing.
Right.
yeah, for sure. And the thing is like, and I say this oftentimes when we have these types of conversations with the guys, but Pro-Am is so much different than pro. And when you have to come into the pro class and race against those established guys, especially back then when there was 12 factory guys or more, it's just like, how do you look at this and be like, okay, I can be top 10 today as a rookie, when that there's more than 10 guys, there's 15 big name guys on that list. And it's like, that is a huge mental hurdle to have to get over. Yeah,
it was, but that was a good thing about training with legends, like Digger Doug, Creamer, just those were my 2 main guys that I trained with at that time. Then, I didn't get hooked up with Creamer till 2009, but Digger is a hell of a guy, hell of a racer.
Oh yeah.
And just an overall awesome idol to have, and trainer. And
he was that for all of us who came from here,
Yep. And it was 2009 was a rough season. you know, I yanked a couple hole shots. But yeah, like you said, 2 top 10s. I mean, that ain't shit, you know, honestly. It isn't, you know.
Well, this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing, because you might have been at a point where a top 10 was like it was a good finish as a rookie in that class,
Yeah.
right? But the thing about being a young pro or a guy who's just touching the top 10 is you can be like, okay, good, awesome, we got top 10, but nobody knows about it and nobody cares.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. You know, and then like you said, there was 15 to 20 bad dudes. You know, you had Wimmer, Wienen, Creamer, Doug, Natali, Little, Travis Spader, Russell Shoemaker. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's just when those guys are in that class for years, which that's what you learn in your pro career, you just get comfortable and clear it out, you know. But it was tough. 2009 was not a good season.
Yeah,
you know?
it was gnarly. It's tough. Like, again, and that's why I mean, I didn't even jot down what place you got in points, because the 2 sticking points for me is, okay, you made all the races, you got 2 top 10s, and then after that, every year got better. So as you jumped to 2010, you were now top 10 in points. You got 1 top 5, and then in 2011, you earned your first pro class podium at Budds Creek, which that had to be the highlight of your career, the best day of your racing career, I'm sure. So you can kind of talk about what led up to that, and then you got to tell me about that day at Budds Creek.
Yep. So 2009, like I said, took 16th overall, blah, blah, blah. You know, it was a learning curve. 2010, training with Digger Doug again, getting a little more confident. And then I was also training with Wimmer at the time.
Yep.
Me and Wimmer were always good buddies and stuff, but I believe 2010 was his last season.
Yep.
And it was pretty much, he was kind of like doing his own deal. He was him and Doc. Like, I used to train with Wimmer and Pat Brown down at Doc's down in Macon, Georgia. And at that time, Wimmer was just doing his own deal. So I Digger. 2010 was good. You know, it was a couple top 10s, like you said, top 5, couple hole shots here and there. And it's your sophomore year going into the pro class. So you're still getting your feet wet a little bit. Granted, there were some pros that dropped out because some factories pulled out. Now you only had 1 Can-Am team and 1 Suzuki team and one Kawasaki team. So
right. So there might have not been as many guys, but the guys that were there were established, very good guys. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and so 2010 was all right, you know, and doing it as a privateer, you know, everyone's got to remember is me racing was a family privateer team.
Yep.
My dad paid for everything. Granted, I had sponsors, you know, that got me free parts and everything else. But my dad was flipping the bill for most of the things, and just for us to go racing, you know, which is hard. And
it is.
So
it's apples to oranges to the guys that you're racing against. That's why, especially at that time with so much factory support, being a top 10 guy as a full privateer, there's guys that had factory affiliation that were finishing behind you. So that's a feat in itself.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it was a good stepping stone. And then we did all right. And we'll fast forward to 2011, because I got to say probably 2011 was probably one of my best years I've ever had.
Okay.
So 2011, I started training with Chad Wienen and Joel Hetrick and Sean Taylor down in Splendora, Texas. I had to take it serious, you know. Mike Walsh was a very good friend and a very good sponsor of mine. And hearing it from Mike and Chad and Digger, you know, like you said earlier, I was a naturally talented guy.
Yep.
When Mikey Walsh says, Nick, if you get your head out of your ass, you will be a multi-time national pro champion. And honestly, I never got my head out of my ass. I never did. I wish I would have, but 2011 was probably my best season. You know, we had a good motor. Jansen Motorsports did it then. I was running DASA for years and years and years. Todd over by you built me a badass motor, yanked a lot of hole shots. One race that really sticks out to me is Steel City. Chad Wienen was on a Can-Am at the time.
Yep.
And second moto, they couldn't get his bike started. I knew I could beat everyone else. I knew it, you know, and it was just my time to fucking go out there and shine.
Okay.
But yanked the whole shot, pulled away. It was me, Bird, and I forgot who else behind. But I had about a 7-second lead over Bird about halfway through the race, and my clutch just blew apart and disintegrated and went into my tranny, just screwed everything up. If I would have won that race, I would have had the overall.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
That was so heartbreaking, you know, so heartbreaking. But then you go to, maybe I was Bud's Creek first, but anyways, that was one of my main races.
Yep.
And then you go to Bud's Creek, which was back in 2006, my first national overall. And then Bud's Creek 2011, first moto I think I took 8th or 7th like that. And then second moto, Harold Goodman pulled the whole shot and I came out right behind him. And it was a mud fest, you know, it was slop. And no, Natalia was first, then Goodman, then me. And Natalia just went, you know, Natalia's a mud rider, same with me. I love mud riding.
Yep.
And that was an awesome day. I ended up 3rd overall. Me, Jeremy Lawson took 2nd, and Natalia took 3rd. And it was just finally the weight was off my shoulders. But now you proved, everyone knew I could be number 1 guy. But now I showed it. Now it's like, all right, now you better follow it up, you know.
Yep.
I had a couple good races after that, but I'll tell you that it was awesome. I got my jersey saved from that podium. I got a picture of me. It was pretty cool. Harlan Foley took a picture of me pointing to my brother going across the finish line, and it was awesome. As any pro knows, getting on a pro podium is a hell of a fucking success.
Of course.
Excuse my language, people. And it was awesome. And that's one of my highlights. That is probably the biggest thing that I'll always remember, you know, besides Steel City, because that was just so disappointing, where you go up on the podium, get your whole shot award, and then, you know, Rodney had all the overalls, and he goes, if you would have finished that, you would have had the overall. And then I see good old Dirty Bird take the overall, and it felt like the biggest kick in the nuts that was ever taken to me, you know.
I'm sure, because I remember, now that you started to explain that, I remember that day and following along. I think I was probably just watching on the computer, the live timing and scoring, and I can still feel that anxious feeling in my chest right now as you describe it, because that's exactly how I felt at the time. Like that, because like that's how we all felt. It was like you just needed that breakout ride, because it wasn't like it came even as a surprise. It was just like waiting for it to happen. So 2011 was a really good year. Obviously, you had a number of good finishes there. And obviously on paper, the Bud's Creek one stands out because you got on the podium. And so that was, again, like steady progression. It was progression every year. You were 8th in points that year. And then in 2012, you were 6th to 8th place guy basically every weekend, which is solid, again, because that was such again, like maybe the numbers weren't as big as they were earlier in your career, but the guys that were there, the talent was undeniable. But then in 2012, like I said, you were having that good season, good finishes, and then you suffered that devastating leg injury at High Point that you referenced earlier.
Yeah, and so 2012, I was a senior in the class, confident, you know, and finishing 8th well, 7th, 6th. I think I was in 6th place for point striking distance for 5th when I had my crash at High Point.
Yep.
And it was that was a really disappointing year because I picked up a really good sponsorship from Lone Star Racing, and my longtime friend and always will be buddy Ian Harris at SSI, and I had a lot of people stick a lot of money into me that year, and it just halfway through the season. If you guys have been to High Point before, you do your back section and stuff, and you come down the hill. There was a triple behind the hole shot, not that one, but there's a triple right in the middle, and it was uphill triple, and they had a drought that year, so it was super dry. And I've never bailed off of a quad before. If I'm gonna crash, I'm gonna hold on and I'm gonna see how bad it hurts.
Yep.
You know.
Me too. Yep.
I hit this lip and it just died from just so much G-force, and the powder just stopped me, and I just went up and started nose diving. I believe 3 people crashed on that same jump. It was Swartfager, Rastrelli, and I gotta say, I forgot who else was there. There's 3 pros during qualifying who crashed on that triple, you know, and we were trying to tell them, you know, you got to do something different. You got to do something different. They never did. And I remember that crash, you know, well, I was, and I came off this triple and I bailed off for the, you know, first time I've ever, I mean, even on a sled, I did snowcross and stuff. I've never bailed off on a sled. And I knew if I was going to hold on, I was going to be breaking arms and breaking my face and breaking other stuff. So I bailed off, and I was probably like 20 feet, 25 feet in the air, because it was a big hucking triple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And bailed off, and I landed straight into the upside of the landing and shattered my left foot and dislocated my ankle, and got a plate, and I don't even know how many screws, but I was in a foot halo for 4 months, I think, or 3 months.
Yeah. It was
And
gnarly. I just remember you referenced the drought, but they ran out of, to paint the picture, they ran out of water. The racetrack ran out of water. And yeah, the powder from probably not everybody jumping that triple, the powder, got drug up to the top of the face. There's this big powder, and yeah, I mean, you guys come out on the racetrack, you're trying to triple this thing, you hit this powder, it stops you in your tracks. And yeah, that was the rest was history. You had no chance, but it was an absolute fluke thing that I guess came up and bit you. It was just a shame that you couldn't have done anything differently in that moment, you know?
Yeah, you know, and it was like you said, the track literally had no water. Pennsylvania was in a drought. They had no water, and it just sucked because it was going on to the final lap. I just passed Mark Maddle for 5th, and it was just disappointing. And after that, I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we got home, I had surgery and everything, and put everything up for sale, put the bikes up for sale. Luckily, I sold them to a good friend of mine, Drake Coling, and sold them the quads and sold the rig, sold everything. We're done.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, I remember. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
You know, and at that time, I had 2 kids at the time. No, 1. Yeah, 1 kid at the time, and it was just, I was getting older. My dad had a sewer and water business, so it's all right. You know, it's time to go work and grow up, and you know, be a dad now. You know,
right.
And so I was like, all right, well, sold everything, and I never thought I was ever gonna race again. And I get this call from Mikey Walsh in 2013, about 3 weeks before the first round. Cody Gibson backed out on the ride for, you know, he was climbing towers for work. Very awesome job, and you know, good for him and everything. So Mikey Walsh gave me an opportunity to ride a Suzuki in-house factory rider, and talked to my wife, Jenna and talked to my dad, and my old man said, "Well, I don't give a shit. You just got to work, you know."
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
I mean,
there,
that was what was going to stand out to ask you about that, because if I remember correctly, I was 100% sure that you were going to be done racing after the big injury. And like you said, you sold everything. So, I mean, yeah, you were done. And,
yeah,
at the 11th hour, and I didn't know it was only a couple weeks, but I knew it was at the 11th hour that you get this opportunity to ride for Walsh. And like you said, I knew it was a similar program to what Cody Gibson was, riding, beating up on us Pro-Am riders at the time, the year prior. And I'm at Waldo, and all of a sudden there are you show up in the Walsh van, and you're riding
just out of nowhere.
right. You're riding a Walsh Suzuki. I'm like, what is this? So yeah, I was really curious to hear about how that ride came together. And you said that Mikey had made a comment to you about, how naturally talented, you were and stuff like that. So I was super, super stoked. I just remember being pumped at the time that you got that opportunity to come back and if nothing else, there was a feeling that I had that you'd get to end it on your own terms, other than getting hurt mid race and then just never coming back after that injury. So I was super pumped on that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And like I said, Mikey Walsh was always there for me. During preseason training, I'd stay down by him.
Yep.
And so long story short is about 2-3 weeks before opening round, I think that was Georgia. That was our first time going to Georgia. No, we went there in 12. But anyways, about 3 weeks before that, Mikey texted me saying, "Hey, can you call me?" And I thought it was just a bullshit or whatever. So I just call him. He goes, "Hey, Gibson backed out of the deal. He's going to go climb towers and stuff." And it was between me or Travis Moore. And I was always a Walsh guy. I always rode Walsh.
Yep.
So
I know you did.
It was kind of nothing against Travis. It was kind of a no-brainer, and Mikey knew I had it.
He knew what you were capable of, and you had a track record with him. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. And this is the time that I could actually ride, not having a family, a family-owned race team. So right. A lot of some people that might be listening and might know me from back in the day. My dad owned the race team and everything, and he's a very old school guy and really hard on you. And there's a lot of times where I wanted to quit because it was just so unbearing after races, just getting your ass chewed out. And,
yep.
It was actually my year to actually have fun, not have any pressure and just go out and have fun.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine. You had to feel so much like freedom and free of pressure, because I saw some of that with your dad. Yeah, he's just old school. Nothing against him. He's like, that's just how he is. And you were under major pressure. And then, to do it with basically like your buddies, supported by your buddies on a quad that you didn't need to do all the wrenching. You didn't feel the pressure of the family funding this thing. That had to be a really cool feeling. And that Walsh ride was the envy of so many riders. That had such a fun year.
Yeah. I was pumped. Because like everyone seen Gibson on it, that they always call it the Flying W. That was Walsh's Suzuki, the Flying W.
Yep.
And I'll tell you that was probably one of my favorite seasons riding. Because like you said, I didn't want to quit racing, not knowing what could have happened.
Yep.
But luckily I got to give it to my wife Jenna and my dad for letting me take that opportunity.
Of course.
If they would have said no, well, I don't know. You
would have never got to do that, and then you'd feel like you had more unfinished business. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was good. So at that time, me and Creamer were awesome buddies at the time,
Right.
still are. And so I got the call for Mikey 2 weeks before Georgia, 3 weeks before Georgia, literally jumped on the plane the following weekend to go jump on a Suzuki. I've been on Hondas from 2006 to 2012.
Yeah,
so
since
6 years
you
I
had
was
been
on Honda.
since you had been on like when the old YFC was new.
Yeah. And so going from a Honda Suzuki, but I can jump on anything and ride the shit out of it, you know.
You can.
And so I jumped on it and I just held her licked. And I just honestly, I had no worries. I blew a motor, shit, I wasn't paying for it,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
And so I couldn't train. I couldn't train all the time, you know, because my dad had me working
You
5
were
days a
working.
week.
Yep.
I was full-time working. So
Right.
I wasn't training. I wasn't training like these other pros were. I wasn't working out like these other pros were. I was literally riding Wednesdays at Gravity Park,
Yep.
which whatever. And, you know,
Yep.
Pine Ridge here and there. And that was pretty much it. And that was probably one of my favorite years of riding, especially being under the Walsh tent. Just like you said, that's what everyone, you know, wanted as a ride, like Walsh Racecraft, full factory rider from Walsh.
Yeah,
And
I mean, pretty much like 99% of the people at the racetrack would have killed for that ride.
Yeah. And it was awesome, very welcoming. I still remember the night I picked up Josh Creamer on my way down to Florida, because I drove down there at the truck because I was going to stay down there until the first race.
Okay.
And I got the Walshes at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and Wienen was there and Thomas Brown was there. And I walked into the shop and those guys were clapping and gave me high fives, hugs, and it just felt so great to be back with the racing family, you know.
That's so cool.
And just, if people know me, I was always the happy fan, hugging kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't give a shit if you were mad at me or we were rivals or anything. I'm still going to treat you like you're my best friend, or, you know, and so that was awesome getting that back from Chad and Thomas, and then walking in with Mikey there and seeing my number and stuff on the floor. I was like, wow, this is actually real.
Yeah.
And now it's time to do business, you know?
Yeah,
and
that had to be surreal. I can't imagine. And that was such a cool look, because again, it was the same thing as a guy who's like obviously pulling for you, right? But to see basically, like you said, the quad that was meant for Gibson, then I see the 1, 2, 3 on there. When you showed up that day at Waldo, it was like just unreal.
Yeah, I think we surprised a lot of people there, you know, because I was pretty much just training at Josh's house. It was just me and Josh keeping it on the down low, right? And then like, shit, let's go to Waldo, because we knew all the quad guys were down there, you know. And Mikey really didn't want to do it just because he wanted to keep it on the down low and stuff. But I was like, fuck, people know already, so you might as well just go and let's go. So we went down there, and it was awesome. It was awesome to see, you know, connecting up with you again. And Kyle Fix, I believe, was down there at the time.
Yep.
And Mosers, you know, it was awesome getting back in there and not knowing that I had no worries, you know. Mikey was working on, you know, I had to maintain my practice bike and everything, but that ain't nothing. So it was good. You know, it was just, I just had to pay my way to the races, fuel, hotels and stuff like that, which I don't care. I was going racing.
Well, that's
you know?
a small price to pay when you're basically showing up with a quad ready to ride. So, and yeah, like I knew you didn't get to ride and train like the guys that you were racing against. That was the one thing missing from that program, obviously, because you were working full time. But I think that you went on that season in 2013 to have the best season of your pro career? Because 8 of the 10 races, you were 6th, 7th, or 8th. Again, you're doing that on basically no to very little riding time. You finished 7th in points. It was like, I don't know if you knew at the end that was the end of your career, but it was a great way to end your career, going out with the probably the most solid season of your career, and you were having fun again. You know, you were having fun. You were doing what you loved for just because you loved it and you wanted to be there. And I just so pumped that you got that opportunity, because it was just a year prior that it was mid-season and you broke yourself in half, and you thought that was the end of it. So cool to have you back.
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, and now the people here that are gonna be listening, you know, if you shatter a foot, so if you look at your foot, you have your arch. I broke my foot completely in half. Okay. And where do you stand on your foot pegs? Exactly right there. I know boots protect you and stuff, but I didn't know how good it was going to be. You know, now that was the first, going down my Walsh was the first time I stepped on anything with foot pegs since my crash.
Sure.
So it was kind of, Mikey was throwing a Frisbee in the wind, and hopefully we're going to do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was good. You know, first time I stepped on it, I did 2 laps. I was like, all right, this don't hurt. Let's go. And it was awesome, like I said, because I had no worries. Mikey and Nate and, you know, those guys at Walsh, Bart, and those guys took everything for me and gave it all. You know, it was just fun, because when I was down by Walsh, we go ride, go have some beers after. You know, it was just 2 old buddies going racing.
Yeah.
You know, because it was kind of Mike's last year too, like full blown going out racing. You know, he took Parker. We work up after that for I think 2 seasons. But Mikey was getting washed out of it, you know, and you know, just spending every weekend. I mean, he was, you know, 40 at the time, and it was fun. It was a blast, and just going back out and racing and throwing wheels into each other, and it was a blast. And I can never say anything bad about the Walsh crew over there, and I never will. And they know I love them guys, and it was a blessing for that to happen. And it was great. It was just a great cherry to the top of my racing career. Granted, I didn't take a top 5 like I wanted to, which I knew I could have.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said earlier, I wasn't training every day. I was literally working 12, 13 hours a day, drive to a race. Races were pretty much my only practice time.
Only main riding. Because I remember there was a race or 2, maybe Bowling Green stands out to me. Had balances, and you led early, and then you were like, you were in the top 3 or something for the majority of one of those motos. And
and Wienen passed me with 2 laps to go.
Yep.
And if Wienen wouldn't have got me, I would have took 3rd overall that weekend. And you know, Chad, I do not appreciate that you doing that to me. So,
yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday too, because I thought that was going to be a podium that weekend.
Yeah, it was a mud race too, you know, and that was the thing. Like mud races, everyone knew that I was going to be up there on the mud race.
Yep.
And you know, we're just northern boys from Wisconsin, and that's what we do. You know,
I tell people it's the snow riding. The snow riding makes you a good mud rider. It really does.
Oh yeah, it does. And yeah, that was probably one of my best races that year. I had a DNF at Wild Creek. A chain popped off, and my dad came out and watched. And in the pro class, only the rider is supposed to touch the quad and push it off. And I got DNF that race because my dad came out there and helped me push the quad and get the chain back on.
Oh, sure. Hey, I got DQ'd once because you started my quad for me after I fell. But anyway,
was that at RedBud in 2000?
It was at Walnut, Sunset Ridge, and I don't know, 2008, 9, 10.
Yeah.
I probably had a big bore and I couldn't start it.
Yeah. So, and yeah, so it was good, but I was having fun throwing heel clickers like I always do, and whips. Just it was during the race, just
You were there to
I
have fun. Yeah, you were there to have
Yeah.
fun, and you could tell.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so cool to see, because some of these guys in any sport, you see it in dirt bike racing or whatever too, but you can see dudes that aren't having fun, and that was never you.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That was a good 2013 was a good cherry topper to pretty much a racing career.
Absolutely. So as we kind of transition from the racing career to kind of the present stuff, you were always somebody that was well liked. You were always social, friends with everybody, like you kind of said, throwing hugs out there and everything else. So I got to believe you have countless stories. Do you have any that stand out that you haven't said yet that you would like to include in this thing? Anything that's at the front of your mind?
Man.
Then that makes me think that there's nothing that you can say on air that's at the front of your mind.
I mean, there's just stories in the pits and stuff, like, because we're always in the pro pits. Like, we weren't the party. Well, my family was a party people. I mean, we're Wisconsinites. I mean, you drink a lot. So, but Steel City, I remember I had a blowgun with paintballs, and every person who walked by, I just pelt them with it and stuff, and and then we had one of those water balloon launchers.
Yeah,
and I don't know. That was just Steel City, and I think that was 2010. That was, I don't know. It was just a great memory of racing, of just not even racing, just hanging out with your racing family. And that's the thing that I love about ATV racing is, don't get me wrong, some people take it a little too serious these days, and it's not about that. It's about having fun, and it was just the fun memories that always stick out to me. Just stupid stuff like that. But it's just
just being able to be at the races and have that be like almost like carefree. Like it's almost like I don't know how else to explain it. That's just your happy place, and you don't get that feeling. You don't get that feeling anywhere else.
No.
So, and I said it to you, last weekend or whenever, at RedBud, like I just kept saying, like, how cool is it to be back and not have any pressure? And it doesn't matter how you do, obviously you want to do well, but it doesn't matter when you're just there to have fun, and you're there with like the people that you enjoy being with. The Schwartzfagers were there, Derek and his family. And, it was just so cool to see you guys there, because again, it was like you just talked about with Walsh's at the end. You were there having fun, enjoying yourself, and that's what it's all about. So like you said, you weren't the party crew, but I feel like you were always like, you were always stirring shit up,
Yeah.
And
people always came by us, and
yeah.
Our rig was always the one with the lights on until 2:00 in the morning on Friday and Saturday nights. But that's what it's about, because my dad and my brother, busted their asses during the week working, and they'd fly in Friday nights and, come wrench for me. And then, so that was their time to get off. So they'd party with Casey Greek and Davey Creamer and, Suzuki team and everything like that. And, so it was good. And now you were talking about RedBud and stuff. So like Cody said earlier.
So basically, I mean, again, like, make sure people know. So you had 7 years away from the sport, right? There was a 7-year hiatus. You were following along, but you were away from it. And then all of a sudden you call me and you say you're going racing at RedBud, which is sick. But tell me where this idea came from, because basically it all started by you finding and purchasing one of your old race quads, basically just as you sold it, right?
Yeah. So in 2012, when I shattered my foot, like I said, I sold everything, and I sold a quad to my buddy John out on the west side of the state, and I actually seen it last fall. I gotta say, I seen it last fall in that Facebook market. I just seen graphics, so pretty much, if anyone wanted stickers, I'd give them a graphic kit or something like this. I was like, oh, it's probably just some guy that has my graphics on a 4-wheeler.
Sure.
And well, sure shit, I clicked on it, and it was John who I sold it to, and so in 2016, after the quads, I got on bikes for a little bit. In 2016, I blew up my knee, like completely shredded my right knee. I tore my patellar tendon, ACL, and MCL, and I have no ACL and no MCL still because I had staph infection in my knee. And there's a point in time during that 6-month process where they're going to amputate my leg and stuff. It was pretty hard for me and my wife and my 3 kids at the time. Like you said, I was off for 7 years. So motocross is in your blood. You're always going to do something, bikes, quads, anything, truck, anything like that.
Yep.
So it was hard. I was off of work for 6 months, middle of summer, that was when big hours, big money was in. And it took a toll on us, not financially, but emotionally, with me and my family, my kids and everything, because my kids loved riding too. I got them their 4-wheelers and stuff. And so long story short, no, I'm kind of skipping around, but so after I blew my whole right knee out, I mean, I knew I was done. Like, there's no way Jenna would let me get a 4-wheeler or a dirt bike. I mean, she wouldn't even let me get a snowmobile, which I understand because I put her through a lot and stuff. But luckily, I found my old quad that I sold John, and it was pretty much a sign from the gods saying, Nick, you need your 4-wheeler back.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So I kissed the old lady's ass quite a bit to get it. She says, as long as you pay for it and you got to do what you got to do to get it. So I texted John, telling him that I wanted it, and he knew I was serious right away. So he took it off of Facebook and kept it there for 3 weeks for me to go get it.
Okay.
Scraped up $6,000 in 3 weeks to go and pick the thing up. Went out there, got it, mint condition yet. Pretty much exactly how I sold it to him. Yep. Same exhaust, same tires, same Nerf bars, same everything was identical on it.
Sure.
And it was because I got 3 daughters, 5, 8, and 11, and I got them all quads. So I got sick of sitting on the sidelines watching them ride around. I'm cruising around on my golf cart. What fun is that?
Right.
So I got the quad, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to get it and hang it in my shop. Who doesn't want to have a memorabilia quad to hang in their shop,
Well, it is cool. It is cool that you found a machine basically like time warped from 2012 when you sold this thing. Pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, because I believe I was getting my daughter's scrambler done. Jansen Motorsports was doing my daughter's scrambler, and I came talk to you and my dad, and I mentioned that. I was like, hey, John's selling this quad, and you're like,
yeah, you're right.
Get it. I was like, fuck, I know I gotta get it.
Yeah, well, because I know it's in, like, I know that how much you love it, right? So
yeah.
I knew if you didn't get it, you were gonna forever regret it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm just thankful that the wife let me get it. It was just kind of, I'll putz around with it around the house, or this and that. But that's never gonna happen. So,
right? Yeah, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. So I had it back in my head that I'm gonna go racing again. So.
So then, then fast forward to your. We talked about this earlier. You were trying to maybe make it happen at Sunset Ridge. Doesn't happen there. And then RedBud comes, you give me a call, you're looking for a couple small parts and you're going racing at RedBud. So, I mean, you got to let us know how the weekend went there.
Yeah, so I was supposed to race Walnut. Well, I wasn't supposed to race. I wanted to race Walnut.
That was what you were shooting for. Yeah.
Yep. Because it's nice and close and everything. And just work was too busy at the time, and still, still is. But Dad wouldn't give me off of work because we had a huge underground system to put in. So is what it is. So yeah, so we missed that, and I told him I'm going to RedBud. I don't care ifs, ands, and buts. I'm going to RedBud.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got a hold of you because, I finally actually looked through my quad and, seen some stuff that I wanted to change. Got a hold of you, and luckily my buddy Cody Jansen here hooked a brother up. And there we were, going to RedBud. I texted my buddy Derek Swartfager about a month prior, seeing if he wanted to wrench on the quad for me. Because I was honestly thinking about running pro class, just for shits and giggles.
Yep.
And but I couldn't get my pro license in time for that, so I was going to run 30 plus, but I didn't know that ex pros can only run 25 plus. Because who doesn't want to come back from a 7-year span and come and win a race? I just didn't want to get my ass kicked too bad in front of my daughters,
Right. Yeah. No,
because they see the trophies, they see the pictures, the YouTube videos and everything.
I get it. Oh, I get it. But I was not worried about how you were going to do.
No. But like I was talking to you, who doesn't want to win?
Of course.
And,
yeah.
So
as soon as you sit on the quad, it takes you right back to your mindset in 2012 or 13 or whenever it last was where you're competitive in the pro class. Like that's never going to go away. So
no,
you're not ever going to be on a joyride.
No. Well, I'll tell you, Friday practice was fun. Friday practice was probably the most fun I had on a quad in a long time.
Okay. Yep.
Well, yeah, 7 years, so it was a long time. But it was fun. But I'll tell you what, that track was cached that first round of practice. I was like, all right, this is not fun. I mean, the lips were good. Like the lips of the jumps were good, so I could throw some whips and this and that. That was the first time RedBud was literally the first time I rode a quad in 7 years, and so I talked my buddy Derek Swartfager into riding.
Another former pro for those who are listening.
Former pro. Yep, he stood up my wedding and everything. I stood up in his, and really, pretty much a brother to me. And
great guy.
Yeah, awesome guy, awesome family. And so I called Derek to work on my quad and stuff, and then I found out that he was bringing gear with to go ride, which was news to me. So Thomas Brown let him run his stocker. And by the way, Thomas, you need to you got to update that thing.
He gave Derek the beatest ass quad he could find, I swear.
I mean, sea riders have better quads than but I'll tell you what, Derek was thrown on that thing on a bone stocker. And
I want one of those so bad.
Yeah. Those things are pretty sick. So
yeah.
Friday practice, me and Derek are just out there having fun. I knew I was running plus 25 against you and Mitch Reynolds. I really didn't know anyone else in the class because, like I said, I was out of it for 7 years, and people change and racers change and stuff.
Of course.
So I was watching you, just try. I guess not. I tried pacing with you and Mitch, and I mean, like I said, you want to win. You have it in your head that, all right, I'm gonna try running with these guys just Friday practice. Mm-hmm. And like I told you, Friday after practice, like, Cody, you need to slow down. I want to win. But it was.
In my mind, I'm like, Nick's going to get a good hole shot, and he's going to be hard to pass.
Yeah. I'm going to block,
Right.
And but I also hated it when people came into a points thing and screwed points up and everything. So, and I don't know. I just wanted to go have fun, but I knew I was going to pull some decent hole shots. First moto, I think I came out like fourth or something like that. Me and you caught tires coming out of that second or third turn, and you and Mitch were gone, and I was battling with Nixon. He was in front of me. He was in front of me pretty much the whole time, and I wanted to beat him. I wanted the third place. I got him final lap going through the rollers because I had an awesome line going through the rollers on the far right side because once you go into a pro class, you will find cheater lines.
Yes.
And I had a nice cheater line going through. Well, it's not a cheater line. I just rolled really tight to the right.
Yeah, you look for edges that typical riders might not look for. Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I was railing that bowl turn on the outside, and I gained so much time from just doing that because that inside was so rough. That track, I've never seen RedBud like that. RedBud was so gnarly rough.
They've added so much sand over the years. It's like, do you remember? Well, you would remember in the early 2000s when it was totally blue grooved. There was no sand, and now, I mean, it is gnarly, like crazy rough. How bad were you hurting at the end of that 5 laps to make that pass? Were your arms numb or were you good?
No, I was endurance wise. I was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had arm pump, but it wasn't out of control where I couldn't hold on and I was losing the handlebars.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was in good enough shape where I knew I wanted to pass him. And beat him,
Yeah.
So
awesome.
It wasn't horrible. You know, I was a little winded, but not horrible. But so first moto went all right. I took a third. It was you and Mitch up front, and then me, and then whatever. Me and Derek partied pretty good Saturday night. Saying hello to everyone and stuff. So second moto, I just wanted to finish top 3 again. You know, I just wanted a top 3, and I think you know what happened and everything, and you know, came out of the whole shot. I think third or
you were second. I was third.
Well, third out of the first turn, and then second out of the second turn.
Yep.
Went off the ski shot, and Mitch Reynolds jumped into that turn a little too hard. Got caught up on that berm, really high on there, and I pile drived him. I mean, I pile drived him, and I knew you were right behind me. It just sucked because when I was sitting in second off that sky shot, I was all right. This is gonna be a hell of a fucking race.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. It was gonna be fun. And then there, all 3 of us sat because those berms are so deep. When Mitch got stuck, you piled into him, had nowhere to go. You 2 got stuck together. I piled into you. It blew a hole through my hood, ripped half of my bumper off. It ripped my radiator rectifier off, and I couldn't even believe the thing was running because half the electrical was hanging there. And I mean, we were a half lap down by the time I got out, and you guys were there for 3 more laps. It was anticlimactic because you had the 3 of us. We had, you know, it was a good race on Saturday, and then anticlimactic that nothing happened with it on Sunday. It was just a shame, but
it was disappointing, you know, especially just being out of it and then being able to go back to a national and race. It was just overall a shitty way to end the weekend. I mean, I've been tangled up and bashed around with quads before, but I've never been tangled up like that before. I mean, I pile drive Mitch, and we had to let the air out of my front tire. We had the quads upside down, trying to pull them apart. They were just so mangled together. By the time we got untangled, it was like the 3rd or 4th lap. Mitch got a lap in, and my quad wouldn't start. and the guy was about to, hey, you want to ride? I was like, no, I want to fit. I'm not going to get a DNF. I want to finish it.
Right.
Finally it started. And by the time I got around, it was a checker flag. It was good. You know, it was fun. It was great to be back.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing, was getting back with all you guys and seeing everyone again. But like I said, everyone wants to win, and that's what I wanted to go out and do. But that's what I wanted to do. But did I know it was going to happen? No, but I was going to try. I was going to try like hell.
Of course you were. Yeah. I mean, there's no shutting that off.
Yeah.
But it was cool because you were embraced by the entire community when you returned, and there was a buzz around you being there and all of that. Like, that was cool. Like, I thought, I mean, it's the ATV racing is better with you there. And it was cool to see you get that reception. It wasn't just, hey, I'm Nick DeNoble, I showed up, to race after 7 years. No, people knew you were there. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome feeling, and that now that you say it, I think that's probably one of the highest points of my career now, is actually going there and seeing people that actually recognize me. And like, even after Friday practices, I'd be going back to the trailer and they see the 1, 2, 3 coming through, like, oh, Nick, are you racing? I was like, oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I'll be watching.
That's awesome.
It was a great feeling that people knew who I was still.
It makes you feel more, it legitimizes you more than you probably even realize, right? That people remember you and people look up to you still. Probably more, like I said, more than you ever realized that they did back then or they would now. And that's got to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah, because let me tell you what the difference was. Being a pro full time, the kids looked up to you.
Yep.
The little kids looked up to you. Now, when I went to RedBud, it was the adults. It was, the kids didn't know who I was. Well, they were stains in their parents' bed at the time, and so here the adults are sitting there, giving me fist bumps and everything else. It was like, that was awesome feeling. And it was it was great to go around and just talk to everyone, besides the Corona stuff and everything. I gave everyone I knew a hug. Because that's just who I am.
That's you. Yep.
And I missed everyone. I literally did. It's in your blood. And it was great to be back. It was honestly, I can't give it up, like I said, enough to my wife, Jenna, and my kids and my dad for letting me take off work to do that, because my mom was completely against it. When we left Thursday, she was almost in tears, not wanting me to go. Like,
wow.
She's seen what I went through, and just, she didn't want me getting hurt, just like any mother doesn't want their kid getting hurt.
Of course, no, I understand, but you can't even. And she was there for your entire career, and she gets it more than most. But still, there's no substitute for that feeling of being at the track and riding your quad and kind of taking you back to what life was like a decade ago. And I can't imagine how cool it was for you to be there now with your wife and your 3 kids. It just had to be, the way it came full circle, I think, is so damn cool.
Yeah, it was awesome, because I got the kids quads by the time they're 3 years old, each of them. And so they're born on the quads, and they see dad's jerseys. They see my trophies. They see everything. But it was cool to finally bring them there and show them what it's about. It's not just about the sport. It's about the family.
Exactly.
The ATV racing community is a family.
Yep, and your best friends are from the racetrack.
Yeah. And it was awesome just rolling around and seeing everyone. And I mean, seeing good old buddy Mark Baldwin, I can't believe he's still going to the races. Same rig, same everything from 2006.
Yep.
And just busting his ass, and it's just awesome seeing those guys. And I just got to give a shout out to Chad Wienen for helping me out with a couple things. And it was awesome to see my good buddy Joel Hetrick there too. I used to train with Joel. Me and Joel still talk. And it was awesome. And especially Mitch Reynolds, you know, seeing him getting back into racing. He was a long-time rivalry too, you know, him and Thomas Brown. And it was awesome.
You guys were from the same era. Yeah.
Yeah. And then going and racing, you know, racing him and racing you. And it was, honestly, it was probably one of the most highlights of my ATV racing career was RedBud 2020. I'll never forget it. And hopefully you guys will see me around, and probably my daughter's here too. I've been, after RedBud, literally that Monday, I've been talking to people and talking to old sponsors about, you know, getting some things together for, you know, the DeNoble family, you know, because I'll be damned if I'm going to let my kids race by themselves, you know. The old man has to go in there too.
Oh, if you're going to the races, you're going for everybody. So
yeah,
I like to hear that. That's exactly where I was going with this. Is I think that you've proved that racing is always going to be in the blood of the entire DeNoble family, and I think that, you know, there's a pretty good chance that those girls are going to turn into to nice little racers too. I think you joked about that a few years ago to me. You said that you got 3 girls, so you got enough riders to make a team of your own right now.
Yeah.
So I think that I look forward to all of you guys being at more races going forward, because again, it was so awesome to see your smiling face there at the racetrack. And I just, again, it's the sport is better with you there for sure.
And I appreciate it, Cody. You know, it really means a lot, you know, coming in. A lot of people may not know, but me and Cody go way back. You know, I remember Cody as this little 10-year-old, you know, doing flat track, and then riding buddies in 2010, riding buddies in 2011, you know, and it's just
even going back before that. But
yeah,
I just always looked up to you, you know, and then you, like I said, we talked about earlier, you catapulted yourself, went from literally being a guy that lived, you know, just up the road from me as kind of like a backwoods local guy, and turns into a guy that's winning pro-am races. And I'm like, oh my God. And I wanted to be like you, you know, and you were somebody I always tried to model myself after. And then, you know, obviously throughout it, and then even more now recently, you just turned into a great friend, and you're a good dad. You're a great dude. And again, somebody I still strive to be like. So I just, you know, I just value your friendship so much.
I appreciate it, man. And same here, you know, and it's, you know, your family was kind of started my racing career, you know. Like I said, back in the 2003 stories, you know, bringing our first quads done by you guys, running your guys' A-arms in 2005, 6. And
you ripped a lot of hole shots with Jansen motors.
Yes, I did. Yep. Yeah, that I did. And it was awesome. And it's just awesome to be back. And you guys will see hopefully a lot more of the DeNoble family coming around. I want to get the girls' feet wet in it, you know, into the racing. They know how to ride. It's just they need to get their feet wet. Like Kylie, my oldest, she's 11. I'm gonna get her a Raptor 250. I'm not gonna mess with those little mini quads.
No, but that's a great quad for her to have. Yeah, that Yamaha Raptor 250, because she can ride it for forever. And it'll run like a generator, right? And she can learn her clutch and her shifting, and that'd be the perfect quad for her for sure.
So I've been, I'm gonna keep someone on the DL, but I've been talking to my good buddy CW44, and hopefully there's some stuff in the work in progress here.
Awesome.
Maybe you'll see everyone on Yami's here. You know, Raptor 125, Raptor 250.
I like that.
Wyatt 450. I just don't know what's what yet. You know, like I said, I've been out of the game for so long.
Yep.
But let me give some people advice here, never lose your connections with sponsors. You know, I had a very good connection with my sponsors, and I can still call them and they still have my back. So never lose your connection with sponsors. Always treat them like family, you know, and that was my main thing, is treating everyone like family. And I think that's what got me so far into racing, was having good connections with sponsors. I may not have been a top 5 rider, but I had the backing group that I was a top 1 rider, you know?
Yep. And I think that it speaks to the dude that you are. And I think that's why my dad always wanted to help you as best he could, because he would have gave you the shirt off his back because he knew you appreciated it. And you were so genuine to him in the way you thanked him. And again, how much you showed, how much it really meant to you, that, Dad might have not had the ability to, you know, to give you deals on stuff and to cover stuff for you if he could and all that stuff, but you deserve it.
He was there for me, you know, and your family was always there for me. As when I was running your guys' motors, I was done by you guys every single day. Me and you were riding pit bikes or dirt bikes over at WIR, or just riding the quads up at a ridge, you know, and I'll always cherish those moments. And that's, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We also gave you a hiding spot from from your dad if you needed a place to get away, or you could tell him you were practicing, but you might have just been hanging out at our shop.
Yeah. And but that's what I needed, though, you know. It was it was a tough career, you know. But what do you expect from a dad who busted his ass all the time and throwing his money to his kid to go F off racing, you know, not making any money for him? And but it was great. It was great always getting away, hanging out with you guys, hanging out with the families, hanging out with the racing families. And like I said, hopefully you guys will be seeing me around a lot more. Seeing the DeNoble kids coming up here, and who knows, you might be seeing the 1, 2, 3 challenging Wienen and Hendrick again. That's a joke, you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it was such an awesome story. I enjoyed this conversation so much. And I can't thank you enough for your time, for coming on here. Of course, I know we wanted to get you on. You're always welcome here. There's an open invitation to come on and talk ATV racing anytime you want. But again, I've enjoyed this so much, and I know our listeners will as well. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that enjoys it as much as you, and that makes for some great content. So you had a great career, and you're an even greater guy. So I just want to thank you again for all your time, all the guidance you gave me over the years. And thank you again for coming on and digging deep into your story here, giving us a little insight into the 1, 2, 3 kid.
I just want to say thanks to you, Cody. Thanks to Digging Deep, and thanks to all my fans in the past, all my old sponsors. Can I just kind of give a shout out here?
Of course. Of course you can. Yep.
I just want to shout out and a big thanks to my mom and dad, supporting me through this whole thing. My brother and my sister, Eric and Heather. You know, it was tough with the family a couple times. And then huge shout out to my wife and my 3 kids, Kylie, Ashlyn, and Charlie. If it weren't for them, my kids and my wife and my mom and dad, I wouldn't be who I am, you know, at the track, off the track right now, the man who I became. And most of all, the fans and the sponsors and everything else. You know, I just want to say thanks to everyone. I appreciate everything you guys done for me, supported me, and you know, let's just keep the ball rolling, and let's see that 1, 2, 3 kid back out there, and hopefully you see those 1, 2, 3 daughters out there.
I like that. I love the thought of you being kind of back more on the ATV racing scene after we were missing you for you know, a number of years there. You're the man. Thanks again, buddy. like I said, let's do this again soon. You always got an open invitation to come back on here. Great job at RedBud. Congrats on a great career, and we'll talk soon. All right, pal?
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Love you, man. Take care.
Love you too, brother.
We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. Before Digging Deep was even a reality, back when it was just an idea, CST Tires already believed in us, which is fitting because no one believes in their tires more than I do. Our title sponsor, CST Tires, and their Pulse MXR tires continue to hook every rider strong enough and willing to grab a handful of throttle after mounting them on their ride. Used by Thomas Brown to win races and clinch a third straight Quad Cross of Nations title, Nick DeNoble when he grabbed his first career Pro Class podium, and myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to a 2019 National Championship in the Junior 25 Plus class. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit CSTTires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. CST Tires, where passion meets the ground.
Anybody that I've gotten to try them, I've heard nothing but positive things back.
We're proud to be Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast. Why choose Yamaha? Look no further than Chad Wienen's 6 championships in the past 8 seasons aboard his Yamaha YFZ 450R. Not to mention, Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing, and their support of this podcast proves it. For the 2020 ATV MX season, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program will offer payout and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more information, head to YamahaOutdoors.com and follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors today. All hail Blue Crew, the #1 OEM supporter of ATV racing. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability, as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time NHRA world champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor, because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATV MX podcast is brought to you in part by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 chain. This patented X-ring chain boasts a steel alloy construction for reduced weight, increased strength, and a longer overall chain life, making it the optimal ATV racing chain. Pick up an ATV2 chain today at your local dealer or wherever DID chains are sold. Don't forget about their motocross, off-road, and street bike chains as well. Wherever you go, go with DID.
Hello listeners, this is Chad Wienen, 6-time AMA ATV Pro National Champion, an owner of Wienen Motorsports and proud partner of Digging Deep ATV MX podcast. The two of us share a strong passion for ATV MX. Owning my own team gives us the ability to handpick the best products on the market for our racing program. With consistent testing, research, and development, we are confident that when choosing the products we believe in, our customers will be satisfied in building their own race program as well. We race what we sell. With brands like Fox Shocks, Walsh Racecraft, SSI Decals, Wrath Racing, and Hinson Racing, just to mention a few, go to check out WienenMotorsports.com to see the full lineup. Enter discount promo code DIGDEEP at checkout. Enough talking already. Get out and get some fresh air and go ride. Hope to see you at the track soon.
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Numira's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.numira.com. Numira Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits. Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. The Digging Deep ATV MX podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2020 is no different, with an impressive lineup including AMA ATV Pro Class champion Joel Hetrick and Phoenix Racing Honda team, Cody Jansen and his 2019 Junior 25+ National Championship, Baldwin Motorsports, Nick DeNoble, Wesley Wolf, and much more in the ATV motocross. In GNCC Racing, DP has 16 of the top 17 pros heading into 2020. This includes the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Chris Borich, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and more. These riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com. Purchase at your local dealer or message us for the contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber, and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. If you were to guess, on average, how many days people in the U.S. have to wait to see a doctor, what would you say? Americans have to wait around 29 days to see a doctor in major U.S. cities. And if you're dealing with a condition like erectile dysfunction, you want treatment ASAP. That's why our friends at Roman have spent years building a digital platform that can connect you with a licensed doctor in your state, all from the comfort of your home. Roman makes it convenient to get the treatment you need on your schedule. Just grab your phone or computer, complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If the doctor decides that treatment is right for you, Roman's Pharmacy can ship your medication to you with free 2-day shipping. You also get free unlimited follow-ups with your doctor anytime you have questions or want to adjust your treatment plan. With Roman, there are no commitments and you can cancel anytime. So if you're struggling with ED, go to getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/digging for your free online visit and free 2-day shipping. We are also proud of our partnership with Factory 43. Factory 43 was born in 2007, making Nerf bars for the Suzuki LTR, Honda TRX 450R, and Yamaha's YFZ 450. The brand soon added bumpers and grab bars, and for years now has offered parts for all sport quads. The racer-owned company strives to offer a quality product that installs easy, looks good, and holds up over time. For 2020, Factory 43 is the aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing Honda team, providing riders like Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Chris Borich, and Grayson Eller with the motocross and cross-country versions of their Evo Nerf bar and MX-style front bumpers. Head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products. Thanks to Factory 43. We are excited to dig deep with the support of Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC. Celebrating their 10-year anniversary this May, the company was started by former racers selling three-wheeler parts out of a barn in upstate New York. Through hard work, accompanied by offering great service to their customers, BTQ LLC now has over 40,000 new and used parts in stock. But they haven't forgotten their roots, still offering used OEM parts for three-wheelers, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. Parts are in stock and ready to ship with delivery within 3 days, including free shipping on orders over $50. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for $10 off orders of $50 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Support our industry's grassroots businesses. Thank you, BTQ LLC. The Decker Training Facility at County Line MX is now open. This premier motocross training compound is located in beautiful Fountain, Florida, about a 40-minute drive from Panama City Beach. Their rapidly growing facility consists of a pro-level national track, amateur and youth tracks, woods loop, and mountain bike trails. Everything you need to train comfortably all winter long is available on site, including private cabins, a full gym, RV hookups, bathhouses, garage, dump station, wash bays, and more. With accommodations for riders across the country and around the world, the Decker Training Facility will help you become the best rider you can be. Sign up for a group training session or a private lesson with nationally ranked pros. Train tougher, smarter, and harder this off-season at one of Florida's most luxurious facilities. For more information, go to DeckerTrainingFacility.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram. Decker Training Facility, your elite training experience.
We are proud to be partnered with Avocado Green Mattresses. We all know that sleep and rest are an important part of any athlete's routine. Avocado's line of natural mattresses and pillows provide exactly the support you need to ensure you perform at your best while doing the best for the planet. The Avocado mattress offers zoned back support with an internal support unit, meaning whether you are recovering from a hard day of riding or relaxing on a Sunday morning, you will be experiencing next level comfort. You can rest in peace knowing the components in your mattress and pillow are non-toxic, natural, and sustainably sourced. And getting your Avocado Green mattress could not be any easier. They offer a 100-night sleep trial, free shipping and return pickups, and a 25-year warranty. And if that wasn't enough, rest assured knowing they have 5-star ratings by verified customers, including some of the Digging Deep staff. Step up your sleep game by visiting avocadomattress.com.
Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. Are you having fun yet? 2 awesome guests down, 2 great ones still to come. This next guy damn near owes it all to ATVs and ATV racing. Riding ATVs is literally a treatment for his condition. He loves the sport, he has a heart of gold and a great humor as well. You're really going to enjoy this. Introducing a man that some call the people's champ. All right, guys, we're back with a very special guest. If you're a longtime follower and fan of ATV racing, you surely know who this guy is. Brought to you by our friends at Gripped Gloves, it's Mr. Todd Macke. What's up, Todd? Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Hey, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I've wanted to get you on for some time now, and then when you went out at RedBud and absolutely killed it, the timing just seemed right to get you on the show here. But before we dig too deep, tell my listeners a little more about yourself, because there's some uniqueness to your story, you know, that sets you apart from others, makes you special from others. So tell us a little bit about yourself, because like I said, tons of people know who you are, Todd, but for the people that don't know you, tell us what makes Todd Macke who he is.
Well, I guess first and foremost is I'm a person with a disability, which is called cerebral palsy. So cerebral palsy affects my legs, my arms, my hands, and my speech. So as you listen to this, you may, I might sound different to you because of my CP, but I was born with CP back in the 70s, and so as a kid growing up in the 70s, we spent time at our grandma's house where my brother and I rode big wheels up and down the sidewalk, racing one another. And so my brother doesn't have a disability. So he never gave up. He didn't hold back. So we rode the big wheels every single weekend up and down the sidewalk.
Okay.
So this is where it kind of all started for me, was back in August of 1979, our house caught fire.
Okay.
And I'm in the kitchen with casts on my legs up to my hips, strapped into a wheelchair.
Okay.
So my older brother got me out of the house safely, and we moved into a big conference hotel for 3 months until we could find a house to live in. So I couldn't walk at that age still, so I had to crawl everywhere that I went.
Okay.
So I'm in this conference hotel, and I can't get around.
Okay.
So my dad put me on the tricycle. So the tricycle allowed me to get around the hotel, and I rode that thing all over the hotel. Every single employee knew who I was.
Okay.
So that three-wheel pedal motion helped me evolve into learning how to walk.
Sure. Yes.
So in November 1979, my father put me on my first three-wheeler, a Honda ATC 70.
Okay.
So that I could ride with my two brothers who rode dirt bikes.
Sure.
So this opened up a whole new world for me, because I was immobile. Now I'm mobile, and I can experience riding outdoors.
Sure.
I could ride through the creek. I could ride through the snow. I can feel the wind in my face.
I bet. Yeah.
So this allowed me to be included instead of being excluded.
Sure.
That's a big thing for me.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes.
So I would spend time behind our house on a little small track that we have, and I would practice rolling the three-wheeler on purpose to learn how to take a hit and get back up.
Oh my gosh.
So imagine a kid with a disability rolling a three-wheeler on purpose.
Right. Yeah. Which makes so much sense to me now, because that's just your nature, to this day. But that's very unique, I'm sure.
Right. So I rode that three-wheeler for 2 years and I moved up to a Honda ATC 110.
Okay.
And so we had some woods close by us, and I would ride in those woods every day, riding wheelies, pretending to be a racer.
Okay.
So by now, all the kids in the neighborhood hung out at our house.
Okay.
And so this brought inclusion to me, to be able to hang out with friends instead of being tied up in the house.
Sure.
So in 1985, I moved up to the all-new Honda 250 SX.
Okay.
So this machine had electric start and reverse. So I rode that machine for 2 years and had my very first race on that at a local hair scramble race where we rode every single weekend. So my younger brother raced his four-wheel drive Honda quad, and not wanting to lose to my brother, I cut the track on the last lap to beat him.
Okay.
So he knew that I cheated, and he called me out, and so that led to a whole nother ball game.
Okay.
So So this was about the time that I started reading Dirt Wheels magazine.
Okay.
And so this is where I wallpaper my bedroom with color pictures of my favorite racer, Jimmy White.
Three-wheeler legend.
Three-wheeler legend. So Jimmy was like the Michael Jordan to me.
Yes.
He was a very fast, aggressive rider from the Midwest, and he battled with Marty Hart, Mad Mike Coe, Dean Sundahl, Fast Eddie Sanders. So I tried to practice my slides to be like J-Dub.
Okay.
I tried that.
Okay.
So in 1987, the all-new twin-cylinder Banshee came out. So I wanted them to be my next machine.
Okay.
So my dad took me to the dealer to see if I was strong enough to kickstart it. Well, I could with the short kick lever and the 175cc cylinders. So this was the year where I watched Jimmy White change over to the Suzuki Quad Racer, and he was racing Gary Denton on a circle track out in California that was on TV. This blew me away.
Okay.
This got me hooked, and I wanted to try out flat track racing with my new Banshee.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we went to a local TT race for my first race with my Banshee with the number 31 on it.
Okay.
Bone stock. So while looking at my competitors, I scoped out a brand new Quadzilla 500. So the only thing that I remember from that race was that I managed to beat that 500, and that started my whole racing career from there.
Okay.
So I could make the quad go fast and slide, something I couldn't do on my own two legs.
Sure. Yep.
So the riding leveled the playing field for me. So we started racing motocross that year at Casey, Illinois. Having a 350, they made me racing the quad A class against grown men.
How old are you at this point, Todd?
15.
Okay. All right.
So naturally, I got smoked every single race. But I was out there trying my best and learning. So we continued to race the local district races of Byron, Wapella, Danville, Cayuga. And so in 1988, we went to a motocross race down in Clarksville, Tennessee. This was a track that was behind a Wendy's at the end of a dead-end street.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where I got my first taste of aggressive national riders. As they banged into me in every single corner, I got banged so hard, I never forgot that. So on the way home, we stopped by another track in Cadiz, Kentucky.
Okay.
This track was in a public park that had ball diamonds, soccer fields, football fields, and they raced at night. So they had a concrete starting pad for your start. So I really excelled that night because I used what I learned from Clarksville. In 1989, I started racing more district races and gaining confidence. I had the opportunity to go with a local fast kid by the name of Gil Cat to race a Mickey Thompson race out in San Francisco at the Candlestick Park.
Oh my gosh.
They had a big earthquake that year and they canceled the race.
Oh,
So I never
shoot.
got to do it.
Oh, that's a shame because the Mickey Thompson series was a big deal back then.
Mickey Thompson was, I feel like, a type of track that really fit my style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was a little bit TT and motocross kind of mix, right?
Mix, yeah.
Yep.
So I went on to race the state championship that year against Doug Gust at a track called Slowpokes in Maplehurst.
Okay.
And so having get to race against Doug Gust before he ever turned pro was really cool.
Oh, I'm sure. So, and at this point too, I mean, are you already, are you leaning more towards TT stuff, or are you not really biased to TT or motocross?
So my younger brother raced two-wheel motocross, and he was very, very, very good.
Okay.
So my dad took him. He took priority.
Okay.
So we went to wherever he was going to go race at, and if they raced quads, I raced.
Okay.
Most of the time, it was motocross.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
So in theory, I'm a lot better TT racer than I am motocross, just because of the physical demands motocross puts on your body.
Sure. And I know with time, your story will continue. I know with time, I know that TT was really your thing, obviously, but I didn't know if it always had been, or if, I didn't know if you were held back on motocross more now than you used to be. I didn't know exactly how all that went. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that year I went down to Loretta Lynn's that year and got to meet several pro riders for the first time, like Gary Denton, John Scott, Ken Delp, Mike Maniaci, Donnie Banks. That was very cool for me to finally meet my childhood heroes.
Okay.
Of course, Jimmy White wasn't there, but they didn't race three-wheelers back then. So.
Right. Yep. That era had kind of ended, right?
Yeah. So January 17th of 1990 was a day that changed my life forever.
Okay.
My father had committed a crime and went to prison.
Oh, wow.
So the result was we lost everything that we owned, and I traded my tricked out Banshee in for 2 scooters so my brother and I could get to school.
Oh, wow.
So I rode my scooter to my senior prom stag, of course, and being poor, my best friend's mom made my clothes for me. When I got to the door to enter prom, I was rejected because I didn't have a tux. So that night I rode home in the pouring rain, crying, pretty sad.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's heartbreaking.
That's heartbreaking. So in 1991, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the whole thing is sad because you gave up what you loved. You're on a moped or a scooter because that's all you had. And so, yeah, I'm thankfully we know now that the whole story turns itself around, but so keep telling it.
Right. So in 1991, I terminated my Social Security income and went out and got a job so I could get back into quad racing.
Okay. So
my job was to be a courier driver for a bank, and had to be at certain banks in other towns by a specific time.
Okay. So
my pre-Ricky Bobby came out, and I outran the law several times.
Okay.
So I took that money and bought a cheap quad racer and started racing again.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. So now that everything was on my own dime, I was hungry to race again, but I was also humbled by having to do everything myself.
Sure. Yep.
No parents.
And it starts to mean a little more at that point because you work so hard to make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So after a year on the quad racer, I sold it and bought a bone stock 86 Ford TRX 250R. And I started modifying it and started racing national events and steadily improved. And by 1997, I competed for the Triple Crown Championship.
Okay.
So I won the championship at the famed TT National in Huntsville, Tennessee, where Shane Hitt and Tim Farr crossed their checkers at the same time, and there was a big dispute of who won. We didn't have transponders.
No, there was none of that. No,
It was dark. It was very dark that night.
Yep. You hear stories. We've heard them on this podcast about the racing back then in the 90s and how there was all kinds of funny business going on behind the scenes. And so, yeah, that definitely was a whole nother obstacle back then.
Right. So Jerry Hebel, the owner of London, Kentucky's track, he always sponsored me for his national, for gate fees, race fees, and he even paid for my hotel and gas fees.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Every
Awesome.
year that he had his national, I went to it.
Okay.
And so I started traveling the national series by myself, using a road atlas and driving and wrenching and racing by myself.
Yep.
We
Okay.
didn't have smartphones.
No.
I didn't even have a cell phone.
Right. Yeah. You're on your own.
I'm on my own.
Yeah.
So in 2004, a magazine did a nice article on George Quartus, Jimmy Osborne, and myself.
Okay.
3 guys racing quads that have a disability. So I approached George about forming a 3-man team and competing in the 12-hour race. George secured a new YFZ 450 and modded that thing out. And George is missing his right leg, and Jimmy is missing his left arm.
Okay.
So imagine that.
Yeah, that's amazing. But
So
all of you are just motivated by a love of the sport, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So we had to accommodate Jimmy for his portions that he rode by switching the clutch lever over to where the front brake lever sits.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay.
Every time.
Okay.
So in my opinion, and George will back me on this, this was the biggest race of my career.
Okay.
Jimmy crashed partway through his portion and he was partially injured. George got tired halfway through. So I took off like a bat out of hell and rode for 2 hours straight to give them both time to rest and get back on their feet.
Okay.
George had to hobble out into pit row to stop me to come in for a rider change.
Okay.
That's how hard I was charging.
Yeah.
That team, we finished all 12 hours, but that course was a brutal, rough course.
Okay. Where was the race done?
It was at Fort Dodge, Iowa, but not at the same place where they always had the Fort Dodge, Iowa. It was in another piece of land next to it.
Okay. All right.
So in 2005, Alba sponsored me with a new YFZ 450, and I fulfilled my dream of racing 7 of the 10 national motocross races.
Okay. And this is kind of the era it was, and I don't want you to get too far ahead because it was kind of the era then and a little earlier, maybe even the late 90s, early 2000s. But I remember knowing who Todd Macke was and looking up to you as a racer at a very young age because you were on some of the old ATV racing VHS tapes that I obsessively watched as a little boy, right? So, I mean, basically, like, despite all odds, you made it to being, you know, at the highest level of the sport, racing ATV nationals, and then you were a prominent figure. Probably just because you are who you are. You're a great person. You're you're social. You're buddies with everybody, but also because you were making waves in the sport at the highest level.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, in '93, I went out. I snuck out into the pro practice with Gary Denton.
Okay.
And so back then we come around a tree before the Monza wall, and I was behind Gary Denton, and we took off side by side up the Monza wall, and I passed him up coming up there. That just felt so good to finally do something that great. Just one time. One time.
Yep.
So Gary Denton, being who he is, instead of coming over to me to ask me what I was doing out there, he said, "Hey, let's go work on starts.
Oh wow.
So Gary took me over to the fence line, away from everybody around, and he worked with me on my starts
Wow.
for free. Just voluntarily did it.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And so that really meant a lot to me. And so Byron Goggin was there. He covered me for the video. And, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I never forgot that. I'm not there to race pro and to blow anybody's doors off. I'm just there to ride, to have fun.
Right. But I mean, there was a period there where still to this day, you're a good racer, but I mean, there was, you were a really good rider in your day too. So I don't want you to discredit that too much because you're humble. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
But
yep.
what VHS, what movies would I remember? What movie was that I was trying to go through my memory bank and think what that would have been.
Well, I'm in there once. Byron Goggin made several videos. I don't remember what the name was.
Okay.
So I'm in there for the actual interview.
Yep.
And then I'm also in the music video for Dear Nacarado.
Okay.
The one about the song about flying.
Yes. Okay. Yep. And I'm sure there's so many people, because there's so many people that listen to this that were around in your era and would have watched it, and then are maybe a little younger like me and obsessively watched them when we were kids, right? But we all have that playing in our head right now. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a shot of me on the starting line at Muddy Creek.
Okay.
And I'm in there with Darren Nacarado, Randy Howard, just the greats of our sport. Okay. And I was very honored that Byron did that for me. So
yeah, that's very cool, and it's deserved.
Absolutely.
So where did we leave off?
So in 2007, I wanted to Ironman the whole entire 12-hour race.
Okay.
Okay. So this is something that nobody thought that I could complete. Okay. So I believed in myself, and I knew that I could do it. So I put together a great race team. And so my goal was to do 24 laps in 12 hours. I surpassed my goal and completed 29 laps and crossed the checkered flag at the 12th hour.
Oh my gosh.
I finished 5th in class.
Wow.
So I went on to Ironman several more 10-hour events over in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
And so that was to think about a person with my disability to race for 12 hours, 12.
For anybody, first of all, to be on a quad racing for 12 hours is amazing. But
against the world's best.
Yes, absolutely.
So I completed that race, and John Natale pulled me up on stage, and he recognized me for my effort. And that was very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So then, so that was 2007, and I mean that's got to be at the top of your list of accomplishments too, to finish Ironman those races all by yourself. That's amazing.
Right. So between 2010 and 2020, I mean, I've raced, every single season at various national races, TT events, monster jam shows, ice races. You name it, I've done it.
Yep.
There was one story that I want to tell about a local monster truck show that was offering $1,000 to win the ATV race.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
So I took my youngest son, Max, with me up there to it. And it was a circle track on concrete.
Yep.
So the promoter stereotyped me because of my disability and put me on the front row for the qualifier race.
Okay.
So I smoked everybody. And so the promoter put me on the back row by myself for the main event. Okay. And I still smoked him.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So my son was up in the stands laughing, knowing how fast that I am, watching his dad win.
Yep.
That was very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And I guess, and you started to state it before, but yeah, I mean, obviously, especially on a track like that, but, you have a disability, but on four wheels, you're not a disabled person. You're on four wheels, you're racing an ATV just like everybody else. So, that's the coolest story.
Right. And so, I'm I'm always looking for a challenge.
Yep.
I'm always looking for a challenge, right?
Yep.
So one of those challenges was to run a 5K.
Okay.
I ran a 5K for the first time in 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. When was that?
And that was a very tough course, too.
Okay.
So being the competitor that I am, I wanted to beat my time. So I raced another 5K and finished in 44 minutes.
Dang. When was this, Todd?
I don't know, something like 2010, something like that.
Okay. All right.
Something like that.
Yep.
So, I was the only person out there with a disability.
Sure.
Like everybody else.
Right. But the thing is, with you, I mean, yes, you're competitive, but you also don't look at it like, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think you look at it like I'm the only disabled person. You want to beat the other people. Just like, I guess, obviously when I say this, I'm mostly talking about on your ATV, but I'm sure it's, and with a 5K too, it's like, hey, I'm in second. I want to beat the guy who's winning, like that's how you look at it.
Correct. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, even today, I still watch pro ATV riders on their performance and how they carry themselves off the track.
Sure.
And, just like I watched Jimmy White, I'm watching today's pro riders the same way. What are they doing? How clean do they ride? What can I gain from watching them?
Sure. Yep.
And so that rider that I'm watching right now, and I have been for a few years, is Thomas Brown.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thomas Brown has really come on strong, not only on the track, but he's always around the pits. He's up on the starting line helping other riders. That's what I want to see in that pro rider.
Yep.
Don't go hide in your motorhome and sit in there and don't get out there and try to engage with the younger riders. Help the sport. And that's what Thomas Brown is doing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. There's Thomas is a great ambassador for the sport in that regard, as are many of the guys. But yeah, I think I think everybody, like we can all give back a little more in our general lives, right? Like that's just an awesome thing. And ATV racing in general is such a family, kind of a family affair that, you love to see that kind of involvement like you see with Thomas. So you're not wrong. That's for sure.
And so I watched some of the other riders, and there's two riders that I have in mind that I'm watching, and I believe that they are the future of our sport.
Okay.
Number one is Blair Miller.
Yeah, he's
Blair
fast.
He races 3 classes every national.
Yep.
And he races 458, and that kid is fast.
He is.
Not only is he fast, but he comes from a great family that supports him. His mom and dad, they work their butts off to give him what he needs. And he's a positive, personal kid.
Yep. I agree.
The second rider I'm watching is Zach Decker. That kid blew me away at Sunset when he won his race by 25 seconds. Mm-hmm. That kid is fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a shame that we saw him get hurt there because he was on a tear too. I think him and Max Lindquist, who obviously are both kind of the new guys in Pro-Am. They're only 16 years old, but those kids, along with, that new class of pros of, Bryce Ford, Brandon Hogue, Alan Myers, Logan Stanfield, all those guys. Then you have, just like you said, Blair Miller and, some of like the Lance Walkers of the world, some of those kids who are just going to keep progressing, who are so young and so fast. I truly, I've been preaching it for a while, but I think that the strength of that part of the sport, that that age range of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, those kids that are going to keep ascending, the sport is in a really good spot. We got a lot of kids to watch, and those names that you're mentioning there are at the top of that list.
Absolutely. So I feel like I have brought diversity into our sport with a positive attitude, and never went up the ranks with the goal of turning pro. Social media has labeled me the people's champ. In my 33 years of racing, I've never made it up on the banquet stage. So I'm hoping to get up there on stage at some point, hopefully this year.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. We talked about that a little bit before we hit record on this thing, and you're in a position where if you finish out kind of the end of the season here, you might just accomplish that goal. And me and so many others who are listening right now would love to see it, because there's nobody who deserves it more than you. And again, you're such a humble guy, but there's so many. I mean, you've just been a staple, kind of a figurehead for this sport for so long, at least from my vantage point. It's only right if you get up there and kind of check off another goal of your laundry list of goals that you've checked off over the years.
Yeah, correct. One of my goals you helped me meet was in 2014. I got to race your pro quad against Stan Digby at RedBud.
Yep, you did.
And so that race, I won the overall for the weekend. And so you got to witness me doing a complete 360 over the T1 jump, landing it, pop starting the quad, and kept on racing.
It
Tell
was
us a little bit about that.
It was amazing. I just remember I'm like, I thought there's no way you're going to hold on to this thing. So I just see this quad spinning, and I can't remember. Did you like touch with another rider or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were going off the face of the jump, right? And you touched another rider. I can't even explain it. It was like when Thomas did that flip forward, and you can't make any sense as to how he never fell off. That was you. It was like you touched tires, you spun sideways. I think it blew your hands off the bars, right?
Yeah.
And you blew your hands off the bars all of a sudden, very similar to how Thomas all of a sudden just was like, oh my gosh, I'm still on the quad, puts his hands back on the bars. That was you. You had never, the tires they were either contacting the ground or slightly off the ground the whole time. And you just all of a sudden, you did a whole 360. We're still going the right way on the track. Put your hands back on the bars. And I'm like, oh my God, please tell me somebody got a video of that. That's all I can think. And that was an amazing experience for me, because I was a young pro at the time. That must have been my rookie pro year or my second. And I remember I always looked up to you, Todd. So it was a cool thing for me too, because I know, you wanted the opportunity to ride a pro race quad. That was kind of what stemmed that whole motivation to that thing. And it was cool for me because I felt like I was helping a friend, but also somebody I looked up to accomplish a goal of theirs. And I think I had just as much feeling of accomplishment that day as you did. Sure.
So last weekend I raced Stan again at RedBud after some friendly banter on Facebook.
This was a grudge match.
So this was a grudge match. So Friday's practice, we went out for practice together, and on the first lap, I sent it over the Rocco's lead, and I didn't make it.
Okay.
I came up short.
Okay.
I came up so short that I bottomed out and went down to one knee onto my Nerf bar and almost came off.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, oh no, not now, not now.
Okay.
So I tried to ride with Stan in practice, and I could not catch Stan in practice on Friday. So Saturday comes for our first race, and I got a bad start off the gate, and I rode too conservative the first lap.
Okay.
I don't know why, but always the first lap, I try to find lines, I try to find a rhythm, and so I was behind Jack Moore, and I finally got by Jack coming down off the Monza wall.
Okay.
So now I put my head down and started charging harder into the corners, charging harder out of the corners, pushing the quad down, doing everything I can.
Okay.
On the third lap, I entered the sand whoops, and I see Stan, and I went flying by him. So you know how brutal those whoops were.
Oh my gosh.
I went through there wide open.
Okay.
And I passed Stan like he was tied to a stump.
Oh gosh.
So now Stan picked up on the last lap and started charging.
Okay.
I bet I put 5 blocks on Stan on the last lap.
Oh shoot.
So now we're coming up the Rocco's lead right before the checkered flag, and I've got the inside line, and I went into the second to last turn thinking, okay, protect. And I took the inside line, and he reeled the outside and passed me at the last second for the checkered flag.
Oh no. Okay. And I want people to understand, Todd. I want people to understand that you raced Stan, who's a guy that we all know. We all remember him from being the ITP guy at the races, and he's a guy, Big Daddy Stan Digby's a guy that all of us know. But this is something that you've been trying to arrange for a few years now. This RedBud quote unquote grudge match, after friendly banter type thing. And it finally happened. So I just wanted to make sure that we inflated this to know that on both sides, there was like, a lot of pride riding on this.
Exactly. Yeah. So of course we go back to the pits, and Stan is on cloud 9.
Okay.
So Stan thought I was Joe Bird out there blocking him.
Oh my God.
I mean, I blocked him so hard, so many times.
Yep.
But you know what? Kudos to him, because he picked it up on the last lap and he won. He won it fair and square.
Right.
So fair that he roosted me right before the checkered flag.
Isn't there a picture going around about that?
There's a picture of it.
Yeah, I thought so. We'll have to post that on our social media.
So I'm racing hard the whole race, focused, and my quad is cutting out bad.
Okay.
Well, from mid to top end, my quad's cutting out. So I did everything I could to get it to the checkered flag.
Okay.
So Sunday morning comes, and we are there for our final race. I get another bad start. Going into the second turn after the start, I'm right behind Stan, and I'm thinking, I gotta beat him. I gotta beat him.
Okay.
Well, he got hung up on a pile up in the second turn.
Okay.
So the last second, I went to the right and got around him and took off and charged. I charged all 4 laps to the checkered flag, and I beat Stan by, 4 or 5 places.
Okay. Yeah. He rolled up by my trailer after when he was leaving the track because very similar thing happened to me on Sunday. And he said, "Yeah, man, the same thing happened to me. Todd got me."
And so I've always said this, that the real winner of that grudge match was just getting Stan back out there on the racetrack one last time.
Yep.
He is such a great guy. He's a great person for the sport. And, he really matched up well with me for a race. And I didn't know it, but your mom told me that the fans lined up the fences watching this race.
That's what I heard that too. Yep.
And but as a racer, I had no idea because I'm so focused on racing and going fast.
Of course you are. Oh yeah.
Yep. And so it was a lot of fun to race with Stan, and I'm two in the O now over Stan, and I don't know if there'll be a third match or not.
It was so special though, because again, like you said, it wasn't necessarily who won or who lost. It was all in good fun. Obviously it feels good to be the one on top now. But it's just like, that's what it's all about, right? You found a way to get your buddy back to the track and, racing against each other, competing against each other, having fun, doing what we love. Like that's what it's all about. But, we've been buddies obviously for a long time now. And I've obviously followed your racing very closely for the last handful of years. And you were a totally different animal there at RedBud. It looks like to me, it just looked like you grabbed another gear, Todd. You came away with second in the 50 plus class, sixth in the vintage 2-stroke class, a top 10 in the 40 plus. And like you said, that wasn't even the whole story, because then you had the competition with Stan too. That was you were motivated obviously to get that thing done.
Well, when Stan told me that was the best that he's ever seen me ride, that's the best compliment I could ever get.
Yeah, and he's not lying. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You were, like I said, you were on another level, I swear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I raced at Sunset last, I think in June.
Yep.
And I figured out some different changes to my racing that kind of carried over to the RedBud.
Okay.
And I put in the work, and I went out there and I executed and came out a winner.
Yeah, I think it's again, it's so special, so cool to see, and that's why I wanted to make sure I got in there. That was as good as I can remember seeing you ride as well. But I mean, you've been racing for 33 years. It's cool that you're still finding goals to accomplish. You're still out there just enjoying it. I mean, like, I don't know that I'm going to find another person that loves or enjoys the sport as much as you do,
Well, I was going to ask you, name one athlete that has been in their sport for 33 years.
Right. I mean, in our sport, I don't know. I mean, and there's obviously people that do what they love, do these sports, compete. You see it on Sports Center, you see it on we see highlights of an older person or whatever doing these things that they love. But it's just, it's amazing. That's why I said in our sport, you're a notable person, and you have been for so long, and to see you still doing it after 3+ decades later, it's really, really, really special. And one thing that I guess was never mentioned, but something that you've said to me over the years is being active helps you, right? It helps your body. It helps you stay more mobile, right? Like that's a thing. So it's almost like ATV racing is a treatment for you in a way, is it not?
That is correct.
Yeah.
With CP, the more that I work out my muscles, the better off I will stay healthy.
Yep.
So you are correct. The racing is like a treatment for me, and once I stop and sit down for a long period of time, I can regress and go backwards.
Sure.
And so I don't want to do that. And so I went to a specialist, a neurologist,
Okay.
and this neurologist was blown away about how toned my body is, because all my muscles are tense 24/7.
Okay.
And so that's the way that I stay fit. I'm toned, I'm strong,
Yep.
and that helps me stay mobile. So the whole idea here is that the ATV, that the ATC helped me become included with friends and help me progress with my disability to learn how to walk and be active and gain strength.
Yep. I think that's why. And again, I had this vision and I still want to do it, like do a for the love of the sport type of episode. And just like you talked about having articles done about you and other people who still do this, still love this sport, despite having other obstacles to overcome that some of us don't have. That's an episode that I wanted to put together and still plan to. So I'd like you to still be a part of that. But yeah, like I wanted to get you on now because you had such a great weekend, but that is kind of the message is ATV racing opened like a door for you that led you to the rest of your life, right? I mean, getting you on wheels, getting you mobile, like, I mean, I don't know, without that ATC, without ATVs, without these vehicles of any kind, I guess, starting off with, the stuff that came even before the four-wheelers. But I mean, that's what truly makes you who you are and made you who you are today. And I just think that that's such a cool story. And I hope that my listeners enjoy it as much as I do, because again, still to this day, you're somebody I really look up to. And it was just a great story to listen to for us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Well, Todd, congrats on a killer weekend. You're such a good role model, like I said, and I cherish our friendship so much. Stoked to see you have an awesome weekend like we just got done talking about. No one deserves it more than you. And but like we kind of started to say, win, lose, or draw, I know that you were just stoked to be out there doing what you love to do. So do you have any parting words for our listeners before you go?
I just want to thank some sponsors that have helped me out over the years.
Okay.
That will be Alba Sports, Fast Company, Sure Shine Polishing,
Okay.
World of Power Sports, Denton Racing, SF Racing, and RedBud. They've been major contributors to my racing program. And, I couldn't do it without those sponsors. And so I will leave you with 6 words. Life is what you make it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you were dealt a hand, and the way that your makeup is, the way your motivation, the way you are, you're somebody who's going to make the best out of everything. And it seems like that's what you've always done. So I just really appreciate your time. I appreciate you getting on here with me and telling a little bit of your story. Like I mentioned, I look forward to getting you back on here for a little more. And just in the meantime, congrats again. And, you set the bar pretty high, Todd, if you want to come out next year at RedBud and do even better. So you might have to start grinding away right now. Who knows? But it's exciting. Like I said, you kind of mentioned, you want to be at the next handful of races here, finish out this season possibly. And I sure hope that you pull it off, because it's just good to have you at the races. That's for sure.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks again, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Man, I love that guy. So much that we could all learn about the power of positivity and how important perception is in this thing called life. I looked up to Todd since I was a little boy, and I always will. It was an honor to have him join me here on the show. And as we close the book on RedBud, we start to look forward to the next event at Lake Sugar Tree. It's a venue the series has never went to before, so I thought the perfect way to end this episode would be with a representative from the track to give us a lowdown before we get to Virginia. I have to say, I'm super excited to get down there following this conversation. Check it out. And now our final guest of the night, brought to you by the folks at Yamaha Outdoors and their industry-leading YFZ 450R. We're stoked to bring on the owner of Lake Sugar Tree, the next stop of the ATV Motocross National Championship Tour, Ryan Smith. What's up, Ryan? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the opportunity. Just working away at getting ready for all you guys to come out here. We started last week cleaning things up, but, for the most part this year, we've been wide open with events. So just trying to do some final touches around the property. So it's up to everybody's standards.
Oh, that's awesome. It's great to have you here, of course. You guys at Lake Sugar Tree are getting ready for, your first ATV, motocross national. And as Loretta Lynn's replacement race, this is a pretty big deal, man. So you guys got to be stoked.
Yeah, we are. When we got the call, it was kind of like, whoa, you're, replacing Loretta's with us. And, this whole year we've taken on quite a few events that got canceled around the places. So when Harv made the call, it was an awesome opportunity. Made a couple calls, got everything situated, and told him, yeah, let's do it. I've known Harv for a long time and been around the racing for a long time, so I was excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and you're a professional bike rider, were in the past too yourself, right? So I mean, you're a rider's track owner, so to speak.
Yeah, and I did it professionally till 2013, which I still do a race here and there. But everyone, like tonight, they were like, Ryan, ride, as we have practice here at the track. And I'm like, man, we've been going at it since 7 o'clock this morning. I'm just excited to watch everybody else ride. But we've been around it. When I raced professionally, my dad was actually the ATV national referee for a long time, and that's they had a Smitty Memorial race at Birch Creek. I think it was 2013 or 14 when they did it. So when Harv gave me the call, he was like, dude, if we can do this and do another Smitty Memorial, that'd be cool. As he lived, I grew up here, he was here, and lived just a couple miles away.
Yeah, that's really cool. I wanted to give you a chance to come on and talk about your track, a venue that, many of us have never been to before. So give me a little history of the racetrack if you can, because I heard before there was a motocross track there was supposedly, supposed to be something totally different back in the day at that location. Am I right?
Yeah, so it was actually going to be, and it would be crazy because Axton would actually be on the map, but it was going to be like a King's Dominion, a big amusement park. And they came out, they surveyed, they did all the stuff. We're about to pull the trigger, and I guess somebody kind of thought about it, was like, where are we drawing people from in Axton, Virginia? But to me, I'm like, it would have been cool to have one here, but here we are at the motocross track. I think it's, we're going on 50 years since it was built. Avery Mills, a guy that's actually still in the area, they built it, and obviously David owned it. And then when he got hurt, he sold it to my grandfather. So it's always been in the family, and now here I am keeping it going. And it's I've got a about to be 3-year-old daughter. And I always tell her, I'm like, look, you got to get in that Bobcat. By the time you're 5, you're prepping the track, and I'm kicking back.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to have it in the family like that. And so that was basically supposed to be like an amusement park type thing, right? Like that was what it would have been?
Yep. Yeah, that was going to be it. And, full on amusement park, just like a King's Dominion or anything.
Yeah. The person that had told me this story, a friend of mine from Virginia they're like, yeah, like imagine, like a Disney World type thing, but in Virginia. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, we always laugh about it because I'm like, whoever thought of that idea in Axton, Virginia, I don't know what they were thinking, but thankfully they didn't pull the trigger, because here we are at Lake Sugar Tree.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So you gave us a little history of the place there. Now tell my listeners what they can expect when we get down there to Virginia, as far as like, what's the dirt like, what's the vibe of the racetrack, and are you going to have to make any changes to the facility to accommodate the ATV Nationals?
Yeah, so actually, for the most part, there was a couple spots that were a little tight as far as ATV racing. We made a couple of changes on some obstacles and widened a couple places up, but for the most part, we're going to run it just like we always do. I'm always super, super picky. From apparel to the track, I'm like, look, if it's not good and I wouldn't ride it or I wouldn't wear it, I don't want it. So,
okay. Yep.
It's clay. There's a little bit, we've put some sawdust in some sections, but I don't go overkill with it, because I like the natural
Yes.
terrain. I don't like the full on where people put, loads and loads of mulch, and, you're supposed to have, different soils at different tracks and stuff. That's what makes it cool. So
absolutely. And that's unnatural. I feel like, to add that much mulch, add that much sawdust type of thing. I think that's unnatural. And I love a good clay track. So that's,
I'm big on, especially when we have, the motorcycles here and stuff. I let the track get super, super rough. If the faces of jumps or something to where it could get dangerous, somebody could get hurt. As far as on a jump, we'll clean it up. But as far as the corners and, the straightaways and the bumps and stuff, I always just, let it get rough, because that's when the good riders come out.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, I always say, if a rut starts on the inside, when it gets deep, it starts another and then another and then another. Then the good riders are going to stay inside, but the ones that aren't very technical, they're going to end up on the outside losing time.
Yep.
So I'm big about, letting the track get rough, and people are always like, dude, you got to go out there and plow it during intermission. I'm like, no, the track's just getting right.
There you go. Yeah. And you obviously have a great facility there, a great racetrack, because you earned the right to host a ATV Nationals. So I don't think that you needed to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. Earlier on the show, we had Chad Wienen on, and he just wanted to make sure that the thing was going to be wide enough for us. And it sounds like that's not going to be an issue. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, it's like I said, we're actually going to have, I got to give him a shout out. Michael Allred's a local guy here, and here he's gonna come out, and the things that we are gonna change just a little bit. We're gonna have a couple of them, just test it and basically give me feedback. Like I said, this is my first ATV based event, but we're gonna do everything we can to give them the best opportunity for some great racing. That's the main goal.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. I think Mike is a good guy for that job too. And it's cool. I mean, I can just listen to you talk, and I can tell, you have a racer's mindset. So you're going to have this thing tip top for us. And yeah, it's really exciting. Finally, I have to believe, and you started to mention it there, but I have to believe you have a special place in your heart for ATV racing because of your father. He was a long time, major part of the ATV community for a lot of years. This event will serve as a memorial for your dad, longtime series referee. And again, I have to imagine that just makes this opportunity that much more special for you. And I fully expect you guys to knock this thing out of the park, especially after talking to you here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. My little brother, Blake, he was 14, I believe, when my dad passed, and my dad never wanted him racing. Well, my dad passed, and he was always around the track helping us and stuff. And he's like, hey, Ryan, can you get me a bike? And I'm like, oh, don't put that on me. But now he's super involved. He rides and stuff, but he's actually really, really smart. So I tell him, I'm like, look, just ride for fun and, focus on school. But he's involved with the track. He's actually our finish line flagger at all the events, helps me around here. My sister helps me here and sign up. My mom helps, around here. So it's all one big family operation, and we're looking forward to it. Like I said, I've known Harv for a long time. I would text Harv anytime I was going to a race that he was at, and I'd be like, hey, Harv, I'll see you this weekend. He'd text me back and be like, seriously? He's like, you don't really need to come. But
that's funny.
I was hard headed when I was racing and stuff. But one of the big things, like I stayed over after Loretta Lynn's. I think it might have been what year was it that Natalie won the title?
2011.
Yeah, somewhere back then. I stayed over and just stayed with my dad during it. And what was always funny is because if anybody knew my dad away from the track, he was like, everyone laugh at him.
Yep.
Joking all the time. But I'm telling you, like after that weekend, when he walked up in the riders meeting and started talking, every one of those guys just was like, you could hear it was just so quiet and they were just focused on him. When we walked away, I looked at him, I was like, Dad, I think they're terrified of you.
I remember those days. Yes.
Yeah. And like I've had people come here to the track, ATV people racing in our local series, and they're like, your dad disqualified me, da, 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 and they'd be all mad. And then they'd be like, you know what, though? He was right. And I'm like, look, you don't have to tell me anything. He's disqualified me on 3 different occasions at a race. Like straight up black flagged me at a local race, packed me, like sent me out the gate. And I'm like, seriously? But it didn't matter if it was me. Yeah, it didn't matter if it was me or the national champ. Like he treated everybody the same. So it was cool. And, I talked to Carrie Joe about it and some things that we're going to do. So looking forward to it. We're going to have a good time. Actually, a local guy that sings at a lot of our bigger races and stuff, he's going to be here Saturday night. So, we're going to have a good time and hopefully put on a really good show, and looking forward to seeing everybody. And like I said, Joel has been here before a few years ago. And it was funny. A kid that was living here that was doing pro motocross stuff was like, oh, ATVs, that's lame. And I said, hey, I think he ended up riding Hayden's, but I'm like, hey, let him do a lap. So he does 1 lap and he comes back and he goes, how the heck do they get around the track? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I was like, I would never jump a 4-wheeler. Like I've road raced 4-wheelers and I'm just like, no way.
Right.
But much respect to all of them. I mean, even some of the kids down in the Super Mini and all the smaller stuff, but I mean, they rip. So looking forward to it. I know a lot of the locals are, and can't wait to see everybody.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back down there. Again, just to tie up that thought, I do think that it's a cool thing to have, a memorial for your dad. We kind of did this once before years ago, and to have another one will be really cool. And just to tie up that thought, we had a couple of run-ins too, but he was always so fair. And I mean, there was definitely people that you didn't want to cross him, So a lot of good memories, and he deserves it. You guys deserve to have this event. It's got me that much more excited after the conversation we had here. Lake Sugar Tree Motorsports Park in Axton, Virginia, August 21st through the 23rd. The next stop on the ATV Motocross National Championship Tour in memory of Smitty, Robert Smith. Ryan, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight. I'm so grateful that, that we're coming to your track, like I said, especially after having this conversation, going to a track with ATV ties and going to a track that truly wants to host ATVs. So I can't thank you enough for everything and joining me here. And I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, look forward to seeing everybody. And, I'll be putting some teaser stuff up on our social medias and stuff on Instagram and Facebook. So stay tuned, and thank you for the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I just gave you a follow, and all the listeners, make sure you follow along too. So we'll see you soon, and can't wait.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. Wow. 4 great guests tonight. We covered RedBud to the nth degree, heard some amazing stories from some great guys, and got a first look at Lake Sugar Tree. Major thanks to tonight's guests, Chad Wienen, Nick DeNoble, Todd Macke, and Ryan Smith from Lake Sugar Tree Motorsports Park. Thanks as well to my producer, my brother Dallas, who always finds time to fit the podcast into his busy schedule. Thanks, Dallas. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to Brooke. Thanks to AMA official Harv Whipple for all he does to assist us. Thanks to our sponsors, CST Tires, Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Wienen Motorsports, the Decker Training Facility, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Fourworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Blenders Eyewear, Mountaineer Brand, Avocado Green Mattress, Roman Health, Factory 43, and Bikes, Trikes, and Quads, LLC. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find all of our episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links and discount codes, our show merchandise, and more, all on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Week after week, you continue to let us know how much you enjoy what we're doing here. You guys seem to have a passion that matches ours, and though this takes so much work, you keep us going. You are the reason we never stop grinding at this podcast. So thanks to all of you who passionately tune in week after week. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Basically, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast. The show is available to anyone and everyone, so go to diggingdeepatvmx.com for help finding us on your preferred podcast provider. Available for purchase on our website today, you can show your support by wearing our apparel. Digging Deep shirts, hoodies, and more are available with free shipping, and all proceeds going directly towards constant growth and improvement of the show. Thanks for all the support and for wanting to represent what we're doing here. We're super proud of our gear. If you enjoy the show, we encourage you to donate via Patreon if it suits you. Simply visit our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, and click the Support on Patreon button. This contribution will help prompt continued growth and improvement of the show, with perks available to those who contribute, including hearing your name on the show. We have listeners who simply shoot us a few bucks every month, and honestly, it all helps. So if you want to support us, this is a perfect way to do so. Remember, you can always call our voicemail line with questions, topic suggestions, business inquiries, and more. Our show number is 920-569-3519, so check that out, and you may hear yourself on an upcoming show. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional behind-the-scenes content and insider info leading up to and at the races. You know I love the screenshots showing that you're listening, so send those in, and I promise to keep sharing them. It's a simple and effective way to help spread the word. I love sharing those. Be sure to subscribe to the show, give us a rating, tell your friends, share our posts, wear our shirts and hoodies. It truly helps with show sponsorship. It helps spread word about us, all while growing the sport that we love. So I can't stress how important that is. If you enjoy what we're doing, that's a great way to help us stick around long into the future. Next up is Lake Sugar Tree in Axton, Virginia, August 21st through the 23rd. Can't wait to get to what they call the country club of motocross. We'll go racing once again, see how it all shakes out this time, and then come back to dig deep into it. I hope you enjoyed another episode, and if you're new to us, check out our past shows with Chad Wienen, Joel Hetrick, Thomas Brown, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Doug Gust, Josh Creamer, Dustin Wimmer, Gary Denton, Dustin Nelson, and so many more. With that, for Chad Wienen, Nick DeNoble, Todd Macke, Ryan Smith, Dallas Jansen, Brooke Catherine, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 1 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the stars of ATV motocross.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then at Steel City.
I would need to check this out.
I'm dead serious. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
It's not easy, Steve. It's not easy.
Listen, JB, I don't want to hear.
It's not easy.
I don't want to hear.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.
You don't chew Big Red. What the?